передаем настройку. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
The three dots. Oh, got it. Yeah,
just hit the X, I think.
That's used to be my suit. It only was like 3 cows they had to kill too.
3
Now
cows,
right, to
to
make
make
suit
that,
for me.
that racing suit.
Right, but now it's 5.
So
5 cows.
Marcos is showing me his old racing days. He was a Ducati racer.
Yep.
Raced Ducatis. Was that in Russia?
No, it was in Long Island.
Long Island when you were racing the Ducatis. Okay.
Well, I still do the track days, and I only ride Ducatis.
Nice. Now where's this picture?
This is the entrance to IZHMASH.
Ah, the factory.
Yep.
IZHMASH factory. Nice.
Right, and this right here, right at the on the back entrance, the main entrance where the employees walk in. And that's this guy. It's Mark Krebs.
Yeah, there's Mark Krebs.
And this is
I know that fella.
Alexei Kalashnikov, the son of.
That's Alexei. You know who he looks like? He looks like Fuller.
Oh yeah. Now that you said it,
Does he? Does he?
A few tattoos and stuff. Oh yeah.
He looks like.
And he's also, as you know, he is the guy who developed that Bison submachine gun. Even with that Ogre magazine. The Ogre magazine, 64 round magazine. That's Ogre.
Yeah.
You know which one I'm talking about?
That was Kalashnikov's son that developed that. There's Mikhail himself holding up the infamous AK. Now, are these pictures you took?
Yeah. These
are personal pictures that you took. There's the dinner.
That's what we had for dinner.
That's in the book.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about this too. These are awesome. I love that. Who's the guy across from? Was that Mark Krebs?
No, that's the local criminalist. Like a police officer, major. Turned out to be a real scumbag.
Oh shit. Nice. Marco and Mikhail. Sounds like a TV show.
Don't put me in the same group with that great guy.
Dude, you're sitting there having dinner with him. How am I not going to do that?
I'm sure I'm just like a little speck in his. Not even. You need like a freaking Hubble microscope to see my presence.
I guarantee you that he was like, "Hey guys, when you put up my statue, make sure Marco is next to me."
Yeah. And not the Sturmgewehr draw.
Not the STG-44. Yeah, that's where Marcos was supposed to be, right there. Marco was supposed to have been where the Sturmgewehr was.
Right, but not yet, right?
We want to talk about that too. So, AK heads, welcome back to another episode of the Talking Lead AK Corner. This is season 5, and our guest today, as you have heard, we've got Marco Vorobiev joining us. He is a longtime guest here. Of the 5 years that we've been doing it, you've been on at least once every year.
And sometimes twice a year.
Maybe 3 times sometimes, yeah.
I could have been like 30 or 40 times, but you just don't invite me that often.
You have an open invitation. I would love for you to be co-host with me. It could be
one of these days. Yeah.
Artie and Mark.
I'm boring. That's the problem.
You are not boring. That is the complete opposite of that. I don't want you to get tired of coming on, is what it is. It's like, oh shit, I got to do this guy's show again. Well, you are definitely a listener favorite. I get a lot of feedback when you're on, and when I do our pre-show post, letting people know you're going to be on, we get a lot of questions, and that holds true this episode also. So we've got questions we want to field.
If anybody's listening or will be listening, I just want to say I do appreciate it. So very much so. And I'm also very open to any questions. And there's no such thing as a stupid question. Stupid is the non-educated answers, I guess, to those questions. But there's no stupid questions.
No
So
stupid
go
questions,
for it.
just stupid people.
No,
But not our listeners, Marco.
Not our listeners, no, for sure.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying everyone's welcome, and I, cherish every sign of any kind of attention I get from you guys, and I
Any
really
attention
appreciate
at all.
it.
Well, and I can't believe, the 5 years that we've been doing this, we haven't talked about the book that you did for Gun Digest, the AK-47 Survival and Evolution of the World's Most Prolific Gun, which, we've actually talked about the book, but we haven't talked about the book itself. We've let people know it's out there, and I know a lot of our listeners have purchased your book and read it. And I think this has probably been one of the most requested shows, is have you on and actually do a deep dive into your book.
Well, great, thank you. If I may, in the beginning, I'll just say that I've done the shooter's guide before this book, and so where I talked about very little on history and development stuff, but mainly practical, aspects of owning the AK and what to expect, and with some references to actual manuals, the Army manuals and things like that. And apparently the publisher loved it so much that they wanted to do a continuation, like not necessarily the second edition, but something different. Yeah. And that's how this book actually came to be. And it took longer for me to research it. So I didn't want to rewrite the Wikipedia page, which seems like, and I don't put down the fellow writers, but everybody knows the story of it already, kind of in a way. The tank mechanic, hospital.
Yeah, they know the basics, heroes that
right.
been told about Mikhail.
But what happened behind, and that's the reason why I suggested the subtitle, as far as like a evolution and survival of AK, because I mean, what goes behind the scenes, that what we on the tail end, so to speak, on the user's end don't understand or don't even know about what was happening with that design and with that with the rifle, and what had to be done to carry that design and that particular rifle through time.
Yeah.
And so I approached it from that point of view, and so they liked it so much they kind of made it a large format, and also did something they don't ever do, is put all the pictures in color, which maybe they intended for it to be a coffee table book, like Kramer or whatever.
It's a very nice. It is a very nice book, and the color just adds to it. So I'm glad that they weren't cheap and chintzy, and they actually did the color pictures, because that adds a whole nother dimension to it. But it's your story and your research is what's impressive on this book. And I know there's probably a whole lot more. As I'm reading in this, I'm like, there's got to be more to that story, kind of deal. And
yeah, unfortunately, you kind of got to keep it within this 6,000 word format for Gun Digest, but in reality, there's a lot more. I mean, there's a lot more things you can dive into those meetings and stuff, and there's some minutes of the meetings kept that kind of available to everyone or to not everyone, and how the decisions were actually made to do this. And I tried to give some samples of that in the story. But another thing is, like, a negative for a collar in that large format is, like, people might not think it as a actually serious book with some serious.
They tend to get caught up in the pictures and just thumbing through instead of actually reading it.
Right, and they'll say, and one guy literally gave me 1-star review on Amazon saying, "Well, the pictures could have been better," or something.
I saw that. They're like, the grainy pictures, and I was like, dude, obviously didn't look at all the pictures, because the ones that were grainy were, Those were all
from years ago. Yeah,
authentic. Yeah.
and another thing is, like, I actually responded to him saying, "Did you actually like what you read? Did you learn something new?" And of course, he didn't respond. So he
No.
thumbed through it, thinking it was like a picture album or something.
I probably didn't even do that. It's probably just some troll, you know.
Well, everybody is
Out there.
entitled to their opinion, and I mean, it is what it is. And
Well, and that being said, Marco, I want to appeal to our audience, our listeners. For those of you who have purchased this book, or maybe you did, maybe you just acquired it somehow. If you've read Marco's book, go on Amazon, please, and leave him a review.
No.
Yes,
unless
because
you feel
that
like
boosts,
it. Unless you feel it.
that boosts your things on Amazon. And I only saw the one bad review. The rest of them have been 5-star and really good reviews. But the more reviews, the better. So Leadheads, get out there on Amazon, and I haven't yet, but I'm going to. I'm going to get on there. I'm going to leave a review. And I really enjoyed the book. Obviously, I thought it was great, and it left me wanting more. Like I said, because I'm one of those that reads between the lines when I'm reading books.
Oh, good. Yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, there's got to be more, more to this. So I would like for you, and this is just, personal request from a fan. I would like to see an autobiography, not a book just about the AK, but about your life, Marco, because you have led one interesting life. With
that's
your
that's what everybody tells me. But and my retort to it would be like, I really don't think so. I think, if anything, my life should be just a regular and nothing special, ordinary.
You were born and raised in Russia, which, that's nothing that any of us Americans can comprehend, especially the era that you grew up in. That was the 60s.
No, man. I just started to.
Weren't you born in like
65 and 65? So by
70s,
I just started to comprehend. I know I learned how to skate, ice skate, when I was 5 years old. That puts me in 1970s, in 1970. But no, mostly it's the 70s and 80s. That's my thing.
Yeah.
And I was looking at my kids, two of my sons that went through a school here. You can draw parallels to what the U.S. life was like in the 70s and 80s to the Soviet Union, and one would argue that depending on what your view of it is, where it was better in the 70s. You got the crisis here, the oil crisis. You had civil rights unrest. You had some of the high unemployment rate.
Yeah.
And, to say that it was like, hunky-dory in a beautiful utopia place in Soviet Union, no. But from, everybody's kind of judging the stuff around them based on his or her exception of the reality that surrounds them, the interaction with other people and things. And I have to say that, I mean, obviously, we all want to say that when you were young, and maybe when you were, in your childhood, and then you enter into young adulthood, it's probably the happiest times of your life. Your parents. Well, I'm generalizing, but I'm saying in the mass, obviously people get, parents get divorced and so on and so on. But in its mass, it's your happiest times, right? So that's when you play with your friends, when you go to movies, not a worry in your, anywhere in the world.
Yeah, but that's the thing. When you're that age, you don't know any different.
Right. And
no matter what you grew up in, your socioeconomic background, you can look at most kids of that age background. They tell the stories, and the majority of them are going to be happy times.
Oh, absolutely. And and that's when you form your relationships with your friends and stuff, and carry it to life, or maybe some will peel off along the way. But one thing, and it's another thing, is like a lot of people ask me about growing up in Soviet Union, and they immediately get this like look as if they like, oh, poor thing, bless your soul, poor thing. I have to say, it was probably a better childhood than I'm looking at some of the kids nowadays.
Yeah.
I mean, we did exactly the same things. First of all, I played sports, and that would cost me nothing, absolutely nothing. Whether I played hockey, of course, every Russian plays hockey, or I did the sambo and judo and stuff. It didn't cost me anything, and I was able to progress to a national level. So that's the guy it's not like here, if your father is an NFL player, then most likely you'll go to Division I college, and you eventually be recruited to
if
play.
that's what you want to do, yeah.
Or draft, right. But if you're a regular dude with talent and stuff, it would be hard for you to bust through that stuff without, And but in the case with the Soviet Union, in my town, which was, you can't really call it a town, it's a population of 750,000, kind of industrial center.
Mm-hmm.
Before I relocated to St. Petersburg, of course. And so in that town, we had everything, like from checkers, you can play checkers on competitive level, or ballroom dancing if you something that you wanted to do.
It sounds like everything was a competition there.
Not necessarily. I'm just saying the opportunities that were available for young people to do other than drugs or alcohol or something.
Mischief. Yeah.
Right. So and all the way to the Premier League soccer and hockey and anything in between. Boxing, sambo, judo, whatever, trampoline, gymnastics, any kind of other gymnastics, swimming, skiing, biathlon.
Now, did they make this available to children, all children, and it was free? Is that what you said?
Correct. You just come in with the parents, and in my case, without parents, because my parents would not allow me to do combative sports. So I won a regional championship within 3 months of joining the club or team, and my parents didn't even know. And the only time when I went into zones, and they actually showed our local team from the city at the zones, and they saw me on TV. They thought I went to visit my friend's grandparents in the far, not close village here, but they saw me on TV, and that's when I
the jig was
came into kind of like, how long you been doing this? It's like, for a year, Mom.
Oh my gosh! Were they mad? Did they get mad at you?
Not really. I mean, they.
Now, you said
my
the
mom
team
was more upset than my father. My father always was like, it makes him happy, let him do it.
This is your jujitsu? What was it?
Sambo.
Sambo. Okay. Yeah. Which is, for our listeners who don't know what the Sambo is, that is a version of, talk about it.
All right. So Sambo is another wrestling discipline, same as judo. Judo is not a martial art. Judo is a wrestling discipline. It was created as a sport. And Sambo, on the other hand, was created as a martial art for the Red Army in 1920s as a hand-to-hand combat discipline. However, they immediately found out that it's got a huge competitive potential to become a sport rather than a hand-to-hand combat. So hence, Sambo actually has two components to it. It has a combat Sambo that includes the chokes, punches, and the short kicks. And then there's a sports component to Sambo. That's what they compete. And it's a newly accepted Olympic sport that will be demonstrated in Paris in a couple of years here in the Olympics.
Ah, nice. So they're going to add it to the Olympics.
Yeah. And for longest time, Sambo was sanctioned by FILA, which is the wrestling federation. And now they got their own federation, FIAS. Anyway, so Sambo just kind of in the layman's terms, 70% of it is judo. There's no doubt about it. So same throws, kind of a lot of the same throws, but also it has a componentry coming from like a national wrestling types, like from Georgian Chadaoba, from Kulash and Uzbek, Russian national wrestling, and so on and so on. So the two gentlemen who compiled this discipline is Zakhlopkov and Harlampiev. They traveled around. Zakhlopkov he was like a 6 or 7 degree black belt, and actually was a student at Kodokan in Tokyo. And I'm talking about 1910s and 1920s, right?
Yeah.
And Harlampiev was more of like a collector of national types of wrestlings that he traveled Central Asia, Caucasus, Mongolia, everywhere to collect the most effective, right? And so at the end they came.
Was he doing this for the state?
Yes, it was deliberate effort to come up with the hand-to-hand combat for the Red Army back then.
Gotcha.
And and they came up with this sport. And actually, one of my coaches that I was lucky enough, Viktor Avdeyev, was a student of Harlampiev himself. So
is this the guy who created the
sport? Yeah. So, but the Avdeyev himself taught me a few ways. Sometime I'll tell you all about it. I don't want to take any more time. But anyway, interesting character.
That would be good for your autobiography. That would be a good story for your autobiography that you're going to write one day. Yes, sir.
Maybe I can't make false promises. So, but,
well, I'm gonna keep encouraging it. I know our listeners will too. But that's my point. Is you had a very interesting, unique from the majority of people worldwide. I mean, you want to compare us to Russia, that people would want to hear about, and it's led you to where you are today, obviously, and made you the person that you are today. But and we did an episode, I think it was in our first season 1, we had you on the very first episode, and we talked a little bit about your background. You didn't talk as much about your growing up, but more, I think we focused on your military service at the time. But for those who don't know, Marco is also a Soviet Spetsnaz back in the day. He's not currently. he is a.
It would be a trick of the tricks, man, to be a Soviet Spetsnaz right now.
Yeah.
Since the country doesn't exist, is what I'm saying.
Oh yeah, that's true. There's no such thing as that anymore. It doesn't exist. I get. Right. And I think that's one of our questions that we have. We'll talk about that here in a minute, but. Go back, check that episode out. I don't know the exact number, but it was during season 1. You can go to our website and just put Vorobiev last name in, and all the episodes we've had Marco on will come up. And that's one of them. And CJ joined us on that episode. We had CJ Johnson on during that episode. Good episode. So go back, check that out. And I want to make sure we talk about your book. So. But that's kind of the things that led you to the knowledge is, your childhood, your growing up, things that you experienced, and your parents telling you can't do something, you went and did it anyway. The defiant little bitches.
I did.
On Marco.
I also, as far as hockey is concerned, so we played outside, right? And it was nicely done hockey ring, right? And actually my father, who was an architect and a civil engineer, he's actually designed it, and it was the best one in the city. We would have actual like nationally ranked teams come and play there, but it was outside, so yeah. We had to scrape the snow, we had to sweep it up and stuff and toss the snow over the boards. The funny thing is when people come out and watch it, they would be standing up to their chest right in the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the season, they'll be standing above because all the piles of
Because all the
snow from
snow.
that ring gets, shoveled over the boards and stuff. But anyway,
You had a snow stadium.
right, exactly. And then, so I all of a sudden I developed this sinus infections, and in Soviet Union, in Russia right now, the sinus infection is a big deal. Right here, you just
I've
go
got
to the
one
doctor.
right now, buddy.
Oh man, I gotta. Oh, let me show you this.
Got a cure?
Yes, I do.
Zycam?
Yeah, you count to 3 and you cleared. And this is a salt-based thing. It's not addictive like Afrin or something.
Okay. I'll try that. I mean,
Check it out. But
I had to
anyways,
blow my nose like 50 times. I got at least, 16 ounces of snot that came out of my head before we started.
try that Zycam and it'll clear you up. So anyway, and big deal, over here you just go and get the antibiotics and go through it, eat your pills, and then you're good in 3 days.
Yeah.
Over there, it's like, oh my God, you cannot go outside, you cannot play hockey. Oh my God. So I would leave my gear at my friend's house, which is the anybody who played hockey knows what the gear smells like, right? So
thank you.
And the only thing that I wouldn't leave there is my helmet, because I had like this awesome Jofa helmet that I had. But anyway, and then my mom was at the time of a practice, I would go, I'll move to study with Andre. She goes, okay. And I go in that practice, come back all sweaty and stuff. Hopefully they don't notice, whatnot. And I've been doing that too, because otherwise they will, you listen to doctors. Doctors will tell you never to play any sports, never freaking leave your house.
Oh, they don't want you to do anything. Yeah. They just want you to take their drugs.
Yes, exactly. And so, I did that first before I did the Sambo thing. But nevertheless,
It's good to know that the medical profession isn't any different in Russia than it is here in America. It's all a scam.
Oh yeah, the best is when they see it was mandatory. The PE was mandatory all the way to senior year in Soviet schools. Yeah, which should be here too, by the way.
But it used to be that way, Marco. It just like during your time when I grew up, that was a part of our curriculum.
Yeah, there you go.
With PE, but all the way through high school, it was that way also.
Yeah, and you develop a little snuffles and stuff. You go to your local family doctor in polyclinic, and she gives you 10 days off the PE, which gives you 45 minutes 2 times a week to go and screw around, do something other than PE. But in any case, so.
Well, that was the thing. It's like they had those who weren't on a sports team. PE was a required thing. So whatever they did, because I don't know, because I was always on a sports team, so I don't know what they did for PE. They go to the gym, play basketball, they do tennis, they'd mix it up and do different things, I guess, for PE classes. But yeah, I mean, that was even here, like you said, that was part of it back in the day. That was part of our whole curriculum and being outside.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing.
I can't remember not being outside in my childhood.
I mean, the parents would kick you out if you were sitting there watching TV or something. She's like, "Get the hell out! Go outside! Get the ball or something." And that was it. I mean, I kind of grew up in like a typical Soviet city environment, which we had the ant hill, ant farm type, apartment complexes or apartment buildings. Yeah. And you come out and you whistle, like immediately 3 or 4 faces show up in the window or the balcony, and it's like, yeah, what's going on? It's like you're holding the ball like a soccer ball, and before you know it, you got a team to go and kick the ball around in the school. Yeah, you got a game going. Basketball, anything. Or I lived literally in the center of the city, and I was only 20 minutes away from a wild river. Right, not like embankment, like it goes through the city. I'm talking about the trees. You build a fire. You can go pick up mushrooms, fish, whatever you want. 20-minute walk. And in the summers, we spend most of our time in the river, just doing whatever, fishing, swimming. My father was a big influence in that. He was, like in any society, there would be single moms, right? When the fathers are nowhere to be found or something, or the fathers are too busy for the kids. And he was like this surrogate, not father per se, but it's adult figure.
Sure.
That, the kids, I would be coming back from like a practice, right? And just before my father would come back from work, and there would be like these kids, anything from like 3 years younger than me to a year older than me, like any spectrum of kids that live in the three buildings that we kind of had as a neighborhood.
Right.
And they'll be there sitting with their rods and their little tackle boxes and stuff, and a little bread bag with some raw potatoes and salt and whatnot, which we would build a fire and bake them in the coals and stuff, then eat them, and it's like the best meal you ever had.
Oh,
and
yeah.
your tips of your fingers are pitch black, your face is like from here to here is all in the soot and black charcoal, whatever. But it's the happiest times. And so bunch of them, like 3 or 4 or 5, maybe, I don't know, 7 sitting in there. They waiting for Uncle Jim to come from work. So he comes, and I'm already looking at him, and I'm like debating. I'm tired as hell. Should I go with him? Should I not go with him? Doesn't matter whether I go or not. He comes home, eats his dinner, gets his reels, rods and reels, and takes that group of kids with him to the river.
Yeah.
And he went through, like, my mom, when they were still alive, she would say, he's still doing it. Like 3 generations of kids went through, through Uncle Jim's fishing trips.
How many generations that guy influenced,
Yeah, and that's, that's what's missing nowadays, is that positive adult figure, and God knows that today's youth needs it.
Oh, more than ever.
But anyway, back to the book, I guess. Back to the story.
Well, we're building up to the book. We're building up to the story. So, the name of Marco's book, for our listeners, it's the AK-47 Survival and Evolution of the World's Most Prolific Gun, which, the AK-47 is the one we're talking about. This is the AK corner. We are talking about AKs. And, like you kind of kicked it off with, this isn't a story about Mikhail Kalashnikov. That story's been told over and over and over and over again. But you do, you kind of touch on it, and you do bring him in where necessary. But what I like about it is, you also talk about other people that were involved with, either decision making or the hands-on with the development of the AK, and then of course, as it progresses to where we are today with it.
Well, one of them, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I'm kind of like one of my favorite subjects in that regard is that a story about Sudayev, right? So we know Sudayev by the PPS 43. There you go. So he did design that gun when he was 24 years old, and he was already a major. So back then, designers carried, military rank.
Yeah.
And I mean, if anybody ever had a chance to kind of play around with that gun, it's like really hard to. And I have them as a SBR, and I have it as a machine gun. And when you look at the machine gun, it's ingeniously simple, okay? And you have to have sort of like a pro engineer or AutoCAD 3D in your brain to imagine a sheet of metal bending a certain way to create this particular gun. And the gun only, it's mostly sheet metal, right? So it's stamped. Other than the barrel, the trunnion, and the bolt. But some of the something happened.
So I'm sharing my screen for our video.
Oh, yeah.
Bringing up the PPS 43.
There you go. And
Sure.
some of the solutions, I guess, of some of the design features in this gun is like, when I looked at it for the first time and the guts of it, I was like, really? It's so simple. For example, the return spring, right, a main spring that rides along the side of the bolt, and its tip is actually an ejector.
Yeah.
On the guide rod, on the spring guide rod tip is an actual ejector. I mean, it doesn't get any simpler than that. But anyway, so Sudayev, the first set of testing is, if you look at this picture right here, look all the way to the right where that little cylinder is, right now, all the way around on the other side. If you put your cursor, keep going to the spring. Yep, right there. And you see there's a cylinder that actually goes into that round hole on the side of the bolt.
Right.
But to the right of that cylinder is the little tip, and that's what ejects you around. As the bolt travels back on that spring,
That's
carrying
what
carrying the spent casing, that's what the bottom of the casing interacts with to eject itself out.
My question is this part right here, Marco. What do they make that part out of, the cushion area there?
I believe it's pressed cardboard. Oh, that thing is made of, it's got like a metal cup, and it's filled with cardboard. I believe it's a pressed cardboard.
Okay, I thought it was like either a hard leather or or cardboard or something. It's some cheap.
Well, you got to realize these guns were built in the blockaded Leningrad, right?
Mhm.
And I don't know if the leather was available. It could have been leather. I'm not sure.
I don't know.
But the what I'm driving at is that the first military testing of a first automatic rifle, right? And I refuse to call it assault rifle. Assault rifle was coined by little-known Austrian watercolor painter, Alfie. Aldi Hitler, and so I refuse to use his terminology. So it's an automatic rifle. In Russia, it's referred to as an Avtomat, as well as the PPS and PPSH also referred as an Avtomat. And it was considered to be, in the Soviet military during World War II, was considered to be a separate type of weaponry that would be counted as a different type of weapon within a squad or within a platoon. So he would say, my platoon on such and such date has in its possession this many rifles, this many Avtomats, this many light machine guns, this many heavy machine guns, that kind of report, which I couldn't believe that they separated those, but apparently. Also, when they do those reports, it's an interesting detail. When they did those reports, they also separated SVTs separately.
Okay.
So they called Mosin Nagant type of rifles. They called them rifles, period, just rifles. But they would, different item, like different line item would be SVT 40s, this many. And then they would say Avtomat, this many.
Yeah. So, and when they're saying Avtomats, what categorize which?
It's basically an Avtomat, the automatic rifle, right? That goes rat-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta, It fires.
Whatever they were using at the time.
Right. So Avtomat is also the A in the AK, right?
Right.
So it's also considered to be an Avtomat. So anyway, first testing, there was only one winner. Well, they were not winners.
Well, now you're jumping a little ahead. Are you talking about the AK?
Yeah. Hang on.
Okay.
I'll finish up my I
wanted to go before that, but yeah, go ahead.
Well, hang on. I talked about Sudayev, right?
Right.
So there were no winners in the first round of testings, but one rifle was a leader, and it was considered to be a clear leader amongst others. I mean, Kalashnikov's original gun that had the lower and upper receivers and stuff, it separated into, and so on, were completely brushed off. And Sudayev's AS-44 or something was the gun that was a leader, and it was sent back to be developed further to get rid of all the little quirks and things that they didn't like. So unfortunately, yeah, there you go. That's the first Kalashnikov right there up top. So anyway,
again.
yeah. So unfortunately, Sudayev had what's the word I'm looking for? Good Lord.
He got sick.
Yeah, he got sick. He had not decapitation. What's it called? Anyway, he was mortally sick. He was
tuberculosis or something.
I don't know what that was, but he died at the age of 28 in the midst of developing that gun. And when the government went back to his team, said, "Okay, so can you complete the gun?" They said, "No, most of his ideas was in his head." And and that's it. He died. And if he didn't die, it wouldn't be AK, that's famous gun, but it would be an AS-47.
Yeah, and this is I'm holding it up for our viewing audience, and this is in Marco's book.
Right.
And the fact that you were able to get examples of all these rifles too is impressive, and you have them in your book.
Yeah, it's it took some time, but
so what else? Oh, go ahead.
However, hang on a second. So then, second round rolls around. I'll talk about this.
Okay.
I'll talk about this. But second round rolls around, right? And all of a sudden, AK or Kalashnikov presents the gun. That's no longer his gun. It's not what he entered the first time, but it's more of like it's got the it's solid and main receiver where it's housed everything that from Chernian to trigger group, and he has a top cover, which was on the AS. So he borrowed a lot of the, not necessarily, you can only, there's only so many ways to skin the cat.
It's like you point out in your book too. I mean, yeah, he borrowed ideas because the way that Russia saw it was everybody was working for one common goal, and they were working as a team, and they actually encouraged people to take other people's ideas and improve on them, and
exactly.
Make it better.
So, that's a main directorate.
So if people want to say that he stole copy, I mean, who doesn't do that? That's how things get better. Is you improve upon other people's.
I was just recently involved in like the most asinine argument, and I just and I'm like old and wise. I'm like the old bull, right, that walks downhill nowadays instead of running down. So some idiot starts arguing with me. Says Kalashnikov let Dragunov use his design ideas, and I'm like, okay, I'll bite because it's two completely different guns. Short stroke, long stroke, different trigger groups. I mean, everything is different about the two guns. But this guy went on to, why can't you accept it that Kalashnikov allowed Dragunov? And I was like, dude, you obviously like 20-something years old. You never lived in Soviet Union. You don't know how that works. Nobody gave anybody permissions unless it was guided from top down from the government. Government-owned designs. They moved like that's how Molot wound up with an RPK, because they were kind of shriveling down with their PPSH-43 production, PPSH-41 dwindling production, and they needed, another design.
Yeah,
it's not like IZH's factory, IZHMASH, just give it to them. No, they didn't. It's the ministry of industry or whatever in development from the top told them to give them the
Your
technical data.
ideas are your ideas, and they are all owned by the government.
Correct. So anyway, so yeah, that's the story of how the AK came to be, and it's in part thanks to otherwise ingenious designer Sudayev.
Gudayev.
Yeah, he died at age 28, and yet left a
Wow.
huge mark.
Very young. Yeah, and you go into more detail in the book. So, and we're not going to just like do the whole book, but we're just going to kind of deep dive into some of the areas that, I found, like I said, I kind of read between the lines and whatnot. But to that, the very first Avtomat to be, I guess, in existence that we know of was from another fella, and it was prior to this. It was
Fedorov. Yeah.
Yeah. So talk about that real quick a little bit.
Okay, so conventionally, people refer to AK-47 as a rifle that was developed in 1940, 45, and then eventually adopted in 1947. And before that, the other event was 1943 when intermediate cartridge M43 was designed, right? However, the concept of Avtomat or automatic rifle was born way before that. And even though Fedorov Avtomat, we know that was built and adopted in 1916, but actual Fedorov's idea of a reduced power cartridge, which we now refer to as intermediate cartridge, goes back to 1906. Okay, and use of it in a regular infantry rifle, or like main battle rifle, with the full automatic capability. So, and he after the disastrous war, Russo-Japanese War of 1905, where Russia lost not just their Pacific Fleet, but also their Baltic Fleet and Northern Fleet and just about every fleet but the Black Fleet, and lost the control of Port Arthur, right, in the Korean Peninsula, and a few of other territories like Kuril Archipelago, and part of Sakhalin Island. It was disastrous and terrible war. However, during that time, Russians were able to actually have some victories in the land war rather than naval campaign, which was completely, lost. And they captured this Arisaka 6.5, hordes of it, good stock of it, let's put it that way, a 6.5 Arisaka. So Fedorov written this, not dissertation, but let's say a paper, where he was saying that every infantry soldier could be turned into a machine gunner with a lightweight rifle that was capable not only of its regular duties of precision fire, but also full automatic capability like a machine gun, and this is the time when the military is starting to understand the concept of thickness of fire. And thickness of fire is how many rounds in one particular period of time you can put through a square meter. Like in the Russo-Japanese War was 2 rounds, like per second or something.
Right.
And then, so to increase that thickness, which means the probability of striking the target would increase dramatically, he understood that full automatic fire was a must. So he made some prototypes and stuff, but Russia at the time, going from disastrous Russo-Japanese campaign into rolling into a World War I, they didn't have money. They just basically said, forget it. Unless you can create this for our Mosin Nagant, 3 lines cartridge that we can produce. So we have no financial capability to build a factory just to produce that Japanese ammo, 6.5 Arisaka. And so that kind of put it on the back burner. And then World War I showed up, kind of, and thickness of fire became a major thing. And every nation that fought the war had to put a lot of stock into machine guns. All of a sudden, Fedorov's concept became a live project again. And in 1916, they adopted the Avtomat Fedorov, which was, if you look at it right now, it looks like it could be a modern rifle.
Yeah, I mean, it
had detachable 20-round magazine, right? It had that weird front handle, like the Romanians borrowed afterwards, I guess. And it wasn't long; it was shorter than the carbine, shorter than Dragoon version of Mosin Nagant. And however, referring to overall personnel of Russian Imperial Army during World War I, I'm sorry, where the officer corps was out of the noble and high society people, where the regular soldiers, the privates and the sergeants enlisted and everything, were conscripts, usually from the villages and stuff. And at the time, Russia was not industrialized country, right? So everything was the horse, the cow, so that kind of stuff. So when you give somebody a machine and gun, any way you flip-flop it, right? Gun is a machine. Now, bolt gun is a mechanism, right? But fully automatic gun is a machine. Or a semi-automatic gun is a machine. And it's basically, if you can convey it to like a non-military term, it's an internal combustion, single piston internal combustion engine.
Right, exactly.
And so instead of having a chamber where you got expansion chamber where you got the gasoline and air mixture and spark plug, you got the primer and powder and creating the same explosion that pushes the piston back, so to speak, and then so on and so on. So given the machine to not highly educated conscript in the Imperial Russian Army during World War I, you obviously doing, you obviously falling short as far as like expecting this guy to maintain the gun, to operate it properly, and so on and so on. So a few
don't understand how it works. They're not going to know how to maintain it.
Yeah, I mean, their mindset is like, oh, I know how to pull the bolt and then send around, then lock it up, pull the trigger. Right here, I have to take this pin out and this spring out, and I got to clean it and all this. So it was not conducive. However, a few 100,000 of them were produced and were used with various success. Overall, if you take that gun, you put it now into hands of the modern gun owners in the today's environment, it would be nothing exceptional and nothing complicated. It would be exactly probably the same as maintaining a FN FAL or something like that. Right. You know what I mean? Or in some cases, it would be, some of the guns would be even more complicated than that gun.
Sure.
But it was not its time, let's put it this way. However, it was the Soviets, once the Bolsheviks came to power in 1917, they kind of played them an idea. They issued those guns to the Red Army troops fighting the White Army in the Civil War. And again, with various success. However, as we progress forward to 1939 and the Winter War between Finland and Russia and Finland, the Finns actually, Finns had a gun famine, so to speak. So they would appreciate just about any injection that the Russian captured guns would do.
Mm-hmm.
And also, since until 1917, Finland was a part of the Russian Empire, they had the stockpiles of most of the guns that they could rework into their M39s and so on and so on. And they had a good number of, I wouldn't say a lot, but good number of Fedorov Avtomats that they used in defense of their country in 1939. So, so that's definitely Sturmgewehr.
I was
Not
going to bring that up.
Right, not necessarily the first assault rifle. The concept of assault rifle was born in 1906 in a different country altogether.
In Germany, yeah.
And then it was materialized in 1916 in its full, to its fullest, also in a different country. And now the Sturmgewehrs, I guess the biggest. Okay, go ahead. Maybe I'm getting ahead of myself.
I was just gonna. I mean, you've kind of led into it, and Hugo Schmeiser. You don't think too highly of Hugo as far as in relation to the AK.
Okay.
But bringing in the history of this, and the Sturmgewehr does play a history in the development of the AK. So
even the Hugo Schmeiser, when he was asked, like, did you help him to build it, he basically said that, quote unquote, I gave him a few pointers, and I started digging into it, and basically he had a few suggestions on how to stamp the bodies of a magazine to produce it, to make it thinner, but yet retain the sturdiness of it, because original ones were you look at the PPS 43, just slab-sided, smooth magazines.
Yeah.
And so he gave them the idea, and if you take a Sturmgewehr magazine, you take a AKM magazine, you'll see a lot of similarities the way it's constructed.
Yeah.
Now, here's something about Hugo Schmeiser. Okay, Hugo never went to any kind of technical school. Okay, he didn't go to college to become an engineer.
Yeah.
Or learn about the resistance of materials or theory of machines and mechanisms, right? He was his father's son who had successful arms business, right? Built guns.
Mm-hmm.
So he picked up everything. And even in modern society, 5 years of work in a particular factory in the field kind of equates to a college degree, right? So that's how they treat you. If you've been standing at the machine here machining a certain things for 5 years, you probably know more about it than, let's say, a recent graduate from Rosholmen School of Engineering.
Sure.
Right.
Hands on,
Right. However, you're not familiar with the Hooke's law and other things, the mainstays of engineering science, right? So just because of that, when he got captured and as part of reparations, rightfully so, I don't give a shit what anybody says. As part of reparations, a lot of engineers, German engineers, wind up working at the Soviet factories after the war. Okay,
sounds familiar, doesn't it?
Yeah,
for us Americans.
So, anyway, but you would think they were all issued this gray pajama suit, and they all had to walk in formations and all that shit. Bullshit. They were treated, in some cases, even better than the Soviet workers that they worked with. In fact, they let them retain their command structure, like meaning the chief engineer and then the assistant engineers, and so on and so on. And they were paid exactly the same amounts of the Soviet counterpart. Okay? and they were issued an apartment. So if you were unmarried, you would live in a dormitory. If you married, they were allowed to bring their families. Get this, get the families, the children. For the children, there was a German schools.
Yeah.
And their families lived in apartments.
Well, they wanted to make them happy, so that they share their knowledge, right? I mean, it was.
Yes, but okay, don't get me wrong in this one. Don't get me wrong in this one. Golden cage is still a cage, okay? But it was, promised that they will all go back soon. Anyway, so Hugo Schmeisser, having brought his wife and 2 daughters or whatever, took frequent trips to Black Sea, right? Enjoyed his weekends in the local parks, right? Lived in an apartment, but he was being paid a lot less than his German counterparts, for which he always complained and freaking cried to no avail, to the point where the German colleagues did not want to work with him anymore. And they written the letters to that effect. And the reason he was complaining is because he thought he deserved to be paid more. But in Soviet structure, your pay was dependent on your education and your seniority. So, like, let's say if you had a higher education, like, let's say, college degree, you would get paid more than you if you went to vocational school. And that person would get paid more than the person that did not go to school.
Probably had something to do with what they contributed also.
Well, because of him complaining and his German counterparts were not wanting to work with him, right? He was pretty much given some very small detailing jobs on some non-significant parts.
Right.
Okay.
By the way.
And then eventually he went back in 1952. He went back to Germany.
Yeah.
Yeah. And since then he created Dick, right? He didn't create anything, right? Because he didn't have all that structure behind him of his father's shop or the Nazi government contracts.
Now, is he the actual inventor of or designer of the STG-44?
Well, everybody thinks so, and I don't have any material or documents that I can rely on to say that no, he wasn't.
Right? Yeah.
So I'm going to go ahead and say that he was a specialist who kind of possessed knowledge of stamping.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so he was exceptionally good at stamping. Now, so since he went to, so a lot of people say, well, the AK is stamped and stuff. Well,
it didn't start off that.
Yeah, it didn't show up until 1959, 7 years after he was already living in Germany. So therefore, I just got our FFL renewed. So
congratulations.
My son came in. Thanks. Anyway, so so that was the thing. So he wasn't qualified specialist to warrant a better pay.
Yeah, but you're kind of busting the myth that he was attributed to contributing to some of the designs of the AK when it, with the stamped version of it, and it really didn't, because he wasn't even there when.
Also, at the time when the AK was being developed, it was developed in Kovrov. It wasn't anywhere near Izhevsk where this dude was working.
Where he was working.
So that's another thing. But you know who else didn't go to college?
I know several people who did.
No, I mean in arm designers and stuff.
I don't think Kalashnikov did he?
Correct. He didn't. So
yeah.
He didn't go to college. Neither did Barrett.
Bonnie Barrett.
To learn about the gun.
He was a photographer.
There you go.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if Eugene Stoner was actually a firearms designer when he embarked on his iconic gun, but I'm not sure about that one.
Yeah.
But the Barrett for sure. And yeah, Kalashnikov was not either. So that's why they, when they recognized his talent, they constantly pushed him to go and get the degree, go get the degree, go to vocational school first, then go to this, go to this.
Well, you know, that's the thing too. You know, Kalashnikov is attributed with, you know, being the father of the AK-47, but there are a lot of people that were behind him, beside him, encouraging and giving him the tools and, you know, the people that he needed to, you know, bring his dream to fruition.
Well, I mean, like, I spent 16 years in the railroad industry, right? And 10 years of it was manufacturing track maintenance equipment. And I'm a mechanical engineer myself by trade. And so I participated in design reviews and contributed to designs and stuff. And the way, like, let's say you take one single, you know, track machine for, you know, since I do have experience with it. And it has hydraulics, it has the pneumatics, the brakes and stuff, right? It has electrical, right? And when the concept of it arises, and then there's you know, different groups of engineering within the engineering department actually deal with, you know, structural parts of it.
Focused.
And this guy's electrical group, here's the hydraulics right here, right? And then when it comes together, and of course the guy who's in charge of it all, he supervises it, says, no, this would not work. We need to move this, or we need the larger pump because we're going to be swinging more weight here, and so on and so on. But as far as the detailing is concerned and actually coming up with ideas and some of the technical solutions to a particular design, they have groups of people.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, the guns cannot be developed separately from, let's say, ammunition. That was a big concept in the Soviet Union, is what they called a shooting complex, which is the gun plus ammo. In case with the SVD was gun, optics, and ammo, right?
Yeah.
So, or in the AK-74, for example, right? The best, hands down, and anyone who disagrees with me can throw a rock at me right now to the screen.
They might.
And that 5.45 by 39 cartridge is hands down the best fighting carbine cartridge that we have right now in existence. Forget all your 6.8, 6.5s, forget all about it. 5.45 is the best modern war fighting carbine cartridge.
And why do you say that?
Well, it flies long, it hits hard.
Yeah.
Out of short barrels.
So you get the best of all worlds through the 5.45. The weight.
No impulse. I mean, shooting like 22. In a full auto, it's not even fair to fire AK-74 in full auto. Firing, if anybody has an opportunity to fire RPK-74, take that opportunity. Ditch your girlfriend. Forget about anniversary dinner. If there's a chance to fire RPK-74, go do it.
Do it today. Do it right now. Stop what you're doing. Put this podcast on pause and go shoot.
Yeah, right. Well, and you'll see what I'm saying. You'll
I've shot them. Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, there's not, like, it's shooting, it's slinging deadly lead, steel,
accurate
to the area, yeah, like the size of a small child's dinner plate.
I like that analogy.
At the distance.
So that answers our I know we had some questions about what's your favorite round. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Unequivocally, it's the 5.45 by 39 for Marco. So he's holding up some mags now with it loaded with.
With the 7 and 6.
Very nice, very nice. Yeah, if you got show and tell, have it, man. If you got guns and whatever, pull them up. Show our audience. They love show and tell. I do too.
It's a tool. We have to do the documentary on that, like a 2 hour, and probably enter Venice Film Festival with that.
Ooh,
I mean, it would take that
down
long.
with that. I'm down with that. I'll do that. But back to the original, the AK-47, and this is kind of known too, and I think we've talked about it several times, but the round was what they started off with. The 7.62 by 3 to the M43 round is what they started off with, and they wanted a firearm designed around that because Mikhail's original gun that he was working on designing was nothing near the AK-47. It was
right. It was another machine pistol, what they refer to as PPSs and PPSHs and PPDs.
Yeah.
They were machine pistols, they call them. Hence the PP, right? It was pistol, pistolet pulemyot, machine gun pistol. But yeah, it was not what he. And the funny thing is, you kind of like see. Well, first of all, it would be weird to deny that AK's bolt has its roots in the rotating Garand design, because everything else that was submitted for that testing had a design, either a wedge or tilting bolt or something like that, not rotating bolt like he did.
Right.
And if you ever, if you own an AK and you took it apart, and then you take a Garand, if anybody's got M1 Garand run, and you just kind of play around by pulling on that charging handle, right, an upron, and then look straight down at the Garand, right, you cannot help but notice how similar.
A little similar. Yeah, a little similar.
Except in the AK, you can't really see it because the bolt carrier is sitting right over it.
Right.
But in the Garand, you can see it right there, how the bolt comes in and turns, and then it goes back and it turns. And then if you look at the Kalashnikov's original machine pistol design that he did in Kazakhstan while recovering at the railroad depot while recovering from wounds, you can see a heavy Thompson influence.
Yep. Thompson submachine gun. I'm going to hold a picture up right here.
The front handle, the square kind of square receiver that goes past the pistol grip, right?
Yeah. The front grip there.
So maybe he had some kind of like a magazine while laying there in the hospital bed. Somebody showed him a little magazine highlighting the American weapons and stuff.
Yeah. Well, all's fair in love and war, and if he had those to base his design on, that's what he was using.
Well,
a combo of that and the PPS and several other ones kind of thrown in there. So,
well, you go into this thing. There's the saying as it goes. There's so many ways to skin the cat, right? And in the design of the weapons, it's also, there's only so many ways to lock that bolt, or so many ways to have your operating system work with the gases and stuff. So
based on a gas system, yeah.
Right. So it's all in what works the best, and it's not necessarily the copy is a copy. You take it, you draw it up, you detail it, take the measurements and everything. Then you take the samples of a material and stuff, start to match, try to match the steel and so on and so on. But it's not copy when you look at something. Oh, I like that idea. And then you draw up your own thing based on idea of rotation, for example, right? And you can basically take any gun apart, any gun. Well, other than maybe 1911 or something, right? And truly revolutionary guns, like first of its time, And you can look at it, and you can pick apart and say, oh, this is from Martini Henry, or this is from whoever, or this is from this and this. And it, just because it's the mechanical principles how the things work. But anyway, yes. So there's definitely that. If somebody would ask me, I would say, yeah, definitely there's influences that I can see in Garand. And do not experiment.
Sure.
Just do your, do your AK thing, and then grab your Garand and
borrow
look down.
Absolutely, he borrowed ideas.
Yeah, there's absolutely no doubt about it.
Like I said, that's what everybody does.
Right.
Unless you come up with just something completely different.
But like
very rare.
Referring back to like Sturmgewehr, right? STG. And if you are truly unbiased person and you have AK laying right here, and then you got the M16 laying right here, and then you have the Sturmgewehr, and you start comparing them, M16 is exact copy. The layout. Where you got your buffer into a stock, the same big old spring in the Sturmgewehr. You got even the little, what do you call it? God, man, I keep forgetting all these words. The little cover, the spring cover of the ejection port.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So the way it comes apart, you pull the pin out, and you got the lower and upper receiver.
But that's the thing. Somebody takes an idea, and then they improve upon it, and that's
exactly because
how the AK evolved. Like you were saying earlier with the competition back in '39, they came up with the design, and they didn't stop there. They kept improving upon it.
Yeah, and I'm just saying, like again, just because the gun from the side and for a person who is either stupid or blind, the looks about them, they're kind of similar, although it's about 6 inches longer and 3 inches taller and so on and so on. But it looks because of that front side and pistol grip and stuff. Oh, it's totally they copied the freaking design. But for those of us who know about guns, and you can have the M16, and then you can have the Sturmgewehr, and you can have an AK next to each other, you'll find more similarities in M16 design versus the AK design to Sturmgewehr. But does it mean that the Eugene Stoner went and freaking just copied the Sturmgewehr? Of course not. Once you open it, first of all, it's direct impingement.
It's like you're into automobiles, right? You're into
motorcycles.
You remember the Fieros? Was it Pontiac?
Oh yeah.
You remember the Fiero? It's like a poor man's Ferrari.
Yeah.
Fiero and a Ferrari next to each other. It's like, oh, they're both kind of similar in looks, but then you get under the hood and it's completely different. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, tragically enough, when I was racing motorcycles in Long Island, I had a mechanic named Francisco, like great mechanic, unbelievable. I mean, you would come off the bike, for example, right, and during the practice, you have that thing put together for the race and stuff, and it's just unbelievable. And I guess he always wanted the little Fiero because of that, because it looked like a little Ferrari.
It looked like a little Ferrari, yeah.
And he eventually died in it, so that's.
Oh shit! Sorry to hear that. Died Fiero.
Yeah.
Because he was trying to make it into a Ferrari, probably.
No, they say he went right through the moonroof that those cars had.
Mm-hmm.
Except half the body left in the car and half kind of came out. So, I mean, it was right, kind of split him down the middle. It was, well, not fully, but I'm just saying, basically his head hit this thing and it broke his skull in half. But, like I said, it was very straight. But anyway, besides the point,
we digress.
Talking about the book, he is happy probably in heaven somewhere, having fun, racing motorcycles or something.
So let's progress a little further because everybody kind of knows the progression. So you went from the AK-47, the milled, and then they went to the stamp, the AKM, for basically cost, weight, benefits. And they made some other changes too. The butt stock was raised, and
I had maybe this is the moment when I'm talking to Mikhail about the 6-degree freaking stock thing.
Yeah, okay. Him. At the dinner. So
it's interesting.
I want to talk about the dinner. I want to get into, because you met and spent time with Mikhail Kalashnikov, which
yes, I did. Yes. Well, anyway, let's go back to stamp versus.
Okay. All right. But I want to talk about the dinner. Okay.
So originally the gun was actually stamped, but it was a combination of stamped and machine components that comprised, or I guess completed, the receiver.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like weird and asinine. And believe it or not, when they came up with completely milled receiver, the designation of that gun was actually AKM, not like as we know AK-47 Type 3.
Right.
It was actually AKM.
For milled.
No, for modernized, but
for modernized. Okay.
Right, or modified rather, and they, it was a solid design. It was good, but waste of the material producing that particular receiver out of chunk of steel was 15 kilograms of steel. Okay, and that's like, let's see, 33 pounds or somewhere in that, 35 pounds, whatever.
Yeah, starting off with like 35 pounds, and then they end up with.
No, I mean, that was a waste.
Oh, that's how much they waste, was 30.
Yeah.
Damn.
So, I mean, they had to, like, they formed it. I don't know, the process. Anyway, so they start looking at getting away from this complicated machining process, because they wanted to produce not hundreds of thousands of rifles. They want to produce millions of them. And so in 1959, they adopted what became an AKM design, right? So, which is a stamp receiver with the forged trunnion and so on and so on, and riveted together. So they reduced, so that particular process wasted only 7 kilograms of steel.
Huge.
So more than a half. And it was no brainer to switch to cheaper, easier to produce, faster to produce gun. Now, you're mentioning the stock. So this is, if Kalashnikov was like this guy that was like this Palpatine, over the Dark Lord, over the universe of his gun, then it still would have that 6-degree downward.
That was his thing. Stickler,
right?
Huh?
And I asked him about it. It's like, why? And he goes, well, this way it hides a soldier's head lower when he aims the gun. And I'm looking at him going, I don't need to disagree with you with anything. I'm nobody, and you're a genius and stuff and this and that. But isn't that the height of your head is actually determined by the alignment between front and rear sight, which is on both guns are the same? And that kind of hung in the air. I still think that 6-degree, downward position of a stock is the better.
He was just
I said, well, by logic, it's not. All you're doing is, instead of a true cheek weld, you got the chin weld.
I mean, God, for God's, it's low enough already. I mean, I can't imagine, you know, your sight picture being even lower.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's determined the position of your rear side and the front side, right? In alignment, it
Yeah.
doesn't matter what the stock does. I mean, in this case, you know, you would have a shoulder weld for sure, but you would have a chin weld rather than the cheek weld, right?
Yeah.
So they did that, and they did the straight stock. They straightened the stock. They straightened the stock on the AKMS rifles, you know, the underfolders.
Yeah.
And a few other things.
Barrels, they shortened the barrel a little bit more, I
I don't know
believe.
about the length of the barrel, but I think it's thinner. Was the profile was thinner?
Was it thinner?
Yeah.
Okay. I may have misread, but I thought that's what you put in here. I was just going.
Well, I mean, they made like the gas system was completely redesigned with just the 2 ports instead of like 4 ports and 2 spots.
Yeah, and they did that because it obstructed their vision.
The glare and stuff, the mirage or whatever, the rise.
Yeah.
And you know, made the gun more wieldable, and so much so that it still is the number one. I mean, number one design produced in the United States and abroad, other than Bulgaria, for example.
Yeah.
Like Romanians, and you know, who else makes them? Romanians and Polish. You know, they still make the AKMs, and then every gun that's made here in the United States. And I'm not sure about the Jim, if Jim switched to 474 platform. But anyway, you know, you take the Riley Dynamics, you take the PSA, everybody's making AKM, the AKM based, you know, product.
Yeah. I mean, it just makes sense. It's cheaper. It's cheaper to make.
I mean, you know, I'm talking about as opposed to 74, for example.
Oh, okay.
Which should be about the same.
Yeah, and I wonder why we don't see more of the 74s.
I guess because of huge influx of, let's see,
the ammo, maybe the
well, ammo is. I'll get to ammo in a second here, but
yeah,
let's say from the 90s, right? From mid 90s, you had let's say Modis, right? Original Romax from Romania, switching to Wassers. Then you had some Hungarian guns coming in. Then you had the second generation Modis that were worse than the first.
Yeah.
Then you had oldest kits coming in back in like a late 90s, early 2000s, right? All cut up AKMs, like anything from Polish to Romanian to just about anything. And they were all AKMs until some people start bringing in Bulgarian guns, like in 70, you know, AK-74s, AKSUs, and things like that. But compared to the kits, and still the kits still coming in, you know, and they all AKMs. So the only two people that made AK-74s in any significant numbers was the Soviet Union and Bulgaria. You know, East Germany made some, but the rest of them were, because at that time, you know, everything was getting loosey-goosey, and the Soviet Union did not, although they kind of forced their Warsaw Pact allies to switch to 545 by 39 cartridge as a main cartridge in the battlefield. But they didn't hand out the licenses to produce 74. And like Romanians said, you know, we don't need it, we'll make our own. Hence the Romac 2, right? Or was it SAR 2 or something? Remember that weird thing came in with the bent forging handle?
Yeah.
Basically AKM chambered in 7.62, 5.45.
4.5, yeah.
Czechs just start screwing around and develop their own weird gun, It's basically they tried to marry their VZ with the AK, and that was disaster. It never materialized before the fall of Soviet Union and dissolution of Warsaw Pact.
Right.
So the only people who really produced the guns in numbers in that particular configuration was the Bulgarian Soviet Union in 545. And but AKMs, everybody and his mother, and they were bringing them. They tried to capitalize on the American market, so they brought them in. So our illustrious gunsmiths around here start making or copying the AKM guns, and to this date, it's becoming the mainstay. They even taken some of the PSA guns that when they announced the 103 release, and I looked at it in the SHOT Show, it was a AKM dressed as a 103, the different 90-degree gas block.
Yeah.
You know, the front side block and muzzle device, but bolt carrier and the bolt was still AKM.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's one of those things where, and I think you mentioned it in the book too, is, you know, you reach a point to where there's just really nothing else that you can do to it. Until, you know, unless you're changing it.
Exactly.
Change it, and then it's not an AK anymore. Then it's something else.
Well, I mean, if you treated AK as a gun, right, as a gun, as automatic rifle Kalashnikov per se, like AK-12 now, the newest version of AK, it has very few things that the Kalashnikov actually came up with originally in it. And the first version of it, which was actually rejected by the Russians, it had nothing to do with it. Period. Even the bolt carrier was changed. I guess the bolt itself remained as an AK-74 bolt, but the rest of it was completely redesigned, including the receiver.
Well, and that's that's the thing, is that at a certain point, it ceases to be an AK because of all the differences. You know, it's just like his AK, where he borrowed some ideas from, you know, like you said, the Tommy gun, the M and
M1 Garand,
the PPSH, you know, some different components here and there, and, you know, to make this where it ceased being those other entities at that point, and it became its own entity. You know, and I think that's where we are with the evolution of the AK, is that it has to amalgamate into something else.
But remember when I was saying that the any gun, semi-automatic or full automatic gun, is a machine. Right?
Yeah, a machine.
Like a car, for example. Because a car is a machine. In fact, in Italian, it's macchina, right? You refer to a car.
Yeah.
Same in Russia, you say machina, right? So anyway, as a machine, it has a systems and it has mechanisms. Okay, so like AK has a long stroke gas system, but everything else, like the trigger group, is mechanism. The way that the bolt rotates is a mechanism, and so on and so on. So it's a you know, you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So you can change the mechanisms, but I guess one thing remains the system remains intact. But then again, is that he designed that system, or he just? I mean, there's only like 4 or 5 gas systems that operate, and I mean, you can have in any kind of gun.
Yeah.
You can completely dream up of something else, like go to bed and then wake up, oh shit, I got this thing. But it still will use one.
Until you find something else that's going to fuel it, other than an explosion.
Well, I mean, no, you're talking about completely different. But I'm talking about like a regular gun with the regular cartridge. I mean, you got short stroke piston, long stroke piston, direct impingement, right? And then you got a free bolt system, like in submachine guns, right,
Yeah.
and pistols. And then you got another one capturing gases at the muzzle of device, which Germans love, that older machine guns and the Gewehr 41 was.
Yeah.
Right, instead of
Roller, kinds of stuff.
Yeah, instead of getting the gases through the hole in the barrel.
Yeah.
So you can 4 or 5 major systems, and that's all. I mean, you can make the piston different. Like, let's say if you take SVT 40 and let's say SVD, right? Both of them have a short stroke piston system, right? But one of them has a piston. It has a cylinder that has fixed piston like an SVT, and the cylinder is moving around the piston like this. Don't show it to you.
That's what Marco is doing tonight. He just
SVD would have a fixed cylinder and the piston moving in the cylinder. You know what I mean? So, but in principle, it's the same system. Right, short stroke.
Yeah. So at what point has the AK stopped becoming the AK?
I think you can. Well, first of all, of course, people will tell you, "Oh, never happened." Still an AK, any way you flip flop it, and you can argue that still got the same receiver, same bolt carrier, same bolt, same trunnion. It's still an AK, kind of, right? But the biggest, I guess, the time when you can claim that it's no, or somebody would say that it's no longer AK, would be AK-12.
Okay, so when the AK-12 came out, that's kind of the defining is like, yeah, well, it's really got too many other components
in the works
Kalashnikov didn't design.
Right, but even then, though, if you look in my book and when I talk about AK-12 and it's the first version of it, then although as excited as I was about it, and I even built a gun to kind of mimic all the features and stuff in it.
Yeah.
And I think it's in the book too. And pretty much I mimicked everything on that gun, meaning I could charge the gun from left to either from the left. No, not that one. The one before that.
Oh.
One before that.
Chapter before this?
No, it could be chapter before. Let me see.
This is the chapter.
No. The final, it says, right? But look at the chapter before that.
Okay. Keep talking while I'm doing that.
So anyway, and so I mimicked. They were saying, "Oh, now you can charge it from left or right. You can release the magazine with your trigger gun. Gun. You can operate your safety now with the thumb." So I kind of mimicked everything in the gun, and I just took it to regular AK-74 and turned it into, with components.
Is it?
There you go. Yeah, this is it right here.
Okay.
With the components that readily available in the U.S. market. I mean, I have the Zhukov stock from MacPool.
Yeah.
Pretty similar. I had the top cover from this guy. It's called the Lynch Systems.
Okay.
It's actually a pretty cool product. He makes a top covers, AK top covers, where he installs FNFLA type of charging handle, non-reciprocating, on the left upper corner of the top cover. And what it does, it hooks up. It's got the little notch that's, I guess, the little latch that hooks up to the bolt carrier. Yeah, exactly, that one. And you can charge the gun with that. So and so and so on. So, but it was probably.
Did you get the did you get the specs from somebody on the AK-12? Is that how you were able to try to reproduce it?
Correct. So I got the technical description and not necessarily specs like a per se, but it's a detailed description of a gun and its functionality. So, and I was able to kind of replicate it pretty close, but it still was recognizably AK. It was still AK-74 with few additions to it.
Yeah.
What I was driving at with that chapter was like not a big deal. you can make AK-12 in your basement pretty much with the spending
not
a little
enough
money
change with it that you still couldn't get parts.
Right. And then I bought into idea thinking that they're gonna go with it, which would be the huge departure from AK. Huge. Okay.
Yeah.
And then come to find out, they decided to go with that newer version, which is basically modified AK-74.
All right.
The final version. And then I took the IO Inc. M214 gun with combination front side and gas block, and I kind of made a clone of that. And once again, I didn't go into any kind of gunsmithing or anything other than pressing, kind of modifying the front side I needed for that detent to mount a muzzle device.
Right.
So I just, pressed that on the barrel, and that was the only gunsmithing that I did to it. But obviously, if somebody wants to really go deep into it, the idea was that you can, again, make it in your basement, so to speak, and clone it. And quite honestly, it shot really well. Both guns shot really well. I mean, whatever they did as far as maybe a muzzle devices that I used for both of those guns.
Have you got your hands on an actual?
Yeah.
Like
there are a few floating around actually in our industry. There's some people that have them.
Yeah, I've heard of some people that have those. So you wrote this book how many years ago? Was it?
I think it was in 18, maybe
2018.
18 or 19.
Yeah, I was thinking it's 2018. Is what I read there. And since writing this book, I mean, I know you continue to do your research and learn things. What, as far as where they are now with the AK and maybe not necessarily the AK, but just their Russians, with their armament, the rifle, where are they at with it?
AK
still
all
do.
The way. They did years ago. First of all, they have millions upon millions of these guns in their storage, right? In case of war. And now it's becoming a little bit more necessary than anybody in the world would like to see.
Yeah, there's a little skirmish going on somewhere in Ukraine or something like that.
Yeah,
is that what I heard?
Yeah, AK is on the stage, right, in the center stage, in both cases. But I mean, there's development. So Russia always builds stuff for a purpose. They never just build it because they can, right? So as far as the specialty weapons are concerned, I mean, they got some awesome sniping, sniper rifles coming out. Well, actually out and they're being used. Anything from a frontline sniper to like a mission specific sniper rifles are just unbelievable. There's a new frontline, like replace the SVD. Although the SVD is used extensively right now, and that's
what replaced the SVD?
What's that?
What replaced the SVD?
Well, it's probably not going to get replaced for the next 10, 15 years for sure. But there is one that's called SVCH, SVC. A little bit more modernized. It's just basically a modernized chassis using the same magazine, same ammo, but it's more like a, you can put stuff on it, like a, it's all Picatinny and M-lock and the, free floating barrels and things like that.
Or accessory ready.
Yeah. There you go.
Is this it?
Yep, this is it.
Yeah, I just did a Google search on it. Here's see if I can
Yeah, and it's being used now in the conflict there in Ukraine. I mean, the SVD is, it deserves its own niche in the pantheon of weapons gods, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's got its own place in history.
And it still continues to be the main infantry sniper rifle. And whoever says it's designated marksman rifle, I will curse their eyes. And
you got a little trigger time.
I do have extensive trigger time behind it. I own two. I own the full length one and the SVDS, the folding one, and continue to shoot well. And I would like to say, no, I mean, if I was not humble guy, I would say it's all me, but let's say the gun is just capable of really, really good performance.
Yeah, and another gun that deserves its own book. Definitely, we could do a whole nother show on the SVD.
We can.
We probably should at some point in time, but let's bring it back, reel it in a little bit, and we had touched on RPKs a little bit, and I wanted to talk a little more about the evolution of, from the AK into the RPK. Can you touch it? Because you do talk about that in your book too.
Yes, I do. Yeah, and okay, so go back to the development of AK, right? So I told you that Russians build everything for purpose. They don't build, there's been 30 years of peace. Let me build a gun just because I want to do something different. Right. No, I mean, when intermediate cartridge was introduced, and Russians wanted to build what they call a shooting complex, right? So they wanted an automatic rifle, a carbine, and a light machine gun. And they did just that. So there was AK-47, SKS-45, and there was an RPD, Degtyaryov, the belt-fed 7.62x39 chambered machine gun. And out of the three, the SKS, though exceptional rifle, right? Exceptional gun. And anybody who owns it and shoots it on a regular basis can tell you this. It's a great shooting gun. And
SKS,
yeah. I mean, everyone who collects guns should have one. But it was dead on arrival. I mean, it was stillborn. Because in 1945, when they adopted it, the idea was they have a carbine to arm like anti-aircraft guys, right? Not the infantry units, but those guys that man the cannons, the rockets, whatever. Anti-aircraft guys, some support troops and things like that. And, because they traditionally were armed with a shorter Mosin Nagant carbines like M38s and M44s, except AK was smaller and lighter and more wieldable and carried more ammo, and it was easy to reload.
Yeah,
maybe it was not as accurate as SKS, and one can argue that. However, the accuracy was so marginal, the difference so marginal that the thickness of fire that we spoke, right? But the thickness of fire that we talked about earlier, how many rounds you can put on target, it had unbelievable advantage versus the SKS. And so my father, serving in Sakhalin Island in the 50s, in the anti-aircraft missile battery. Originally, they were armed with the M44s, and he hated that freaking gun with passion, and he carried that hatred through the whole life. But he absolutely loved SKS. I mean, every time he would come and visit, I'll take him shooting, and he would not let it go. He would let him, let him take it up to his room, and he'll sleep with it. I mean, he constantly would refer to it. That's a machine. That's a machine. And no, though deservingly so. It was a solidly built gun, reliable and everything, but it just doctrine changed, and no carbines needed anymore because the AK took care of that. Now, okay, now that leaves us with the AK-47 and RPD, right?
I was going to say on the SKS, when you're talking about the SKS, or when we were talking about, is it Fedorov? Is that his name?
Simonov.
No,
the guy who designed SKS.
The very first automatic rifle.
Oh yeah, Fedorov. Yeah.
The SKS reminds me a little bit of that design.
Oh, because he mentored Simonov, the Fedorov.
There you go. That makes sense.
Yeah, he mentored. Yeah, so they kind of borrowed the design from each other. I mean, you look at the Tokarev design, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you look at the SKS design, and it's very similar too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the same with the tilting bolt locking and all that stuff. Kind of shorter, smaller bolt carrier, so and so, the opening from the back of the receiver and things like that. So you would definitely recognize some of the features of Tokarev rifle in the SKS.
Yeah,
for sure. And as a matter of fact, the stock of the SKS is a stock just from like the neck and to the butt plate is exact copy of Tokarev. So if you ever break your Tokarev stock, you can splice the SKS stock right into it.
There you go. Nice little tip. I like that.
And anyway, so it was dead on arrival. RPD was still a viable gun, really good. But then again, they go into infantry squad armament, and they have like all these AKs amongst, let's say, 9 guys, 8 guys, and then they have one guy with this weird one-off machine gun. And again, it was a complicated machine gun, and it was an unnecessarily complicated machine gun. So Kalashnikov came up with his design, which had thicker receiver, beefier trunnion, a longer and heavier barrel, and the bipod, which was, by the way, light bipod, just stamped, and ability in a larger magazine, an ability to accept the regular AK magazines, which is interchangeability within the infantry squad is priceless. So he came up with an RPK design, and decision to replace RPD with RPK was almost like no-brainer. The only requirement was like, yeah, but RPD's got the 100-round belt in it, 250 round sections, and a big old drum. Okay, so they went back and they designed a 72 round drum.
So here you go.
But which not really kind of took off. They made a bunch of them, they used a bunch of them, but they preferred to use the 40-rounder magazines because they're easy to carry and they're easier to
change in and load. Yeah. Quicker load.
So that's pretty much it. But the true potential of RPK, of course, was opened once they reached, I guess, once they switched to 505 round.
Yeah, turned it into the RPK 74.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're still using those today.
To the fullest. And of course, my God, I mean, this guy's like and I'd written about it actually, that RPK is shit. You know, you gotta carry, if you're gonna carry machine gun, you gotta carry PKM. I mean, nobody takes away from greatness of PKM machine gun. I think everybody should have at least two, you know, in their household.
Yeah,
But
if you get 'em.
in true infantry kind of operation and stuff, when you first of all, RPK is used as an AK, as a rifle. It's easy to wield, it's easy to carry, it weighs less, it takes the same magazines and stuff, so you don't have to be loaded with the freaking the boxes upon boxes of PKM belts and stuff when you're honking it up to a mountain and stuff.
Yeah.
Yes, PKM's effectiveness of PKM fires undoubtable, you know, unquestionable. You just freaking just go and you can pick the positions apart. RPK less, you know, less effective that way. However, it's still a great gun for reaching and touching someone and applying precise pressure, where precise fire where you need it at precise time. And if it runs out of ammunition, anyone can give it, you know, can share the ammo.
Oh, a mag.
The RPK.
Toss them a mag and they're ready to go. They're backing
Right. So when they say, oh, the Spetsnaz in Afghanistan would drop their RPKs and pick up PKMs, I love that freaking argument. I love the argument when somebody says during World War II, Russian soldiers didn't, and they hated SVT. They would just drop it and pick up Mosin Nagant. And I was like, okay, well, you obviously never served in the Soviet military, and you don't know that your military ID have a number of the gun that you were issued. And if you freaking drop it, right, you are in the world of shit. You'll be freaking.
better hope
The
you're
things
shot
they'll
on
do
the
to you,
battlefield.
anything less than execution.
Yeah.
And in the battlefield, maybe an execution. You can't freaking drop a gun and pick up another one. And that would be stupid if you had an SVT and if you were an SVT, knowing what you know now, and I don't know how many listeners own the Tokarev, there's nothing complicated about it. It's a modern rifle. It's the same as anything you pick up right now.
Yeah.
And if you were issued this gun, you'll be pressed to learn everything about it. And the SVT-40 is a capable gun, and nobody ever dropped it in the favor of Mosin Nagant gun.
Yeah.
His argument was, yeah, Russian average recruit was fucking dumb, stupid, only knew how to, like, you know, make love to a pig. And, well, you know, I mean, 1930s industrialization in Soviet Union, they built canals, railroads bigger than U.S. ever seen, right?
Yeah.
Every fucking village had a tractor or two or three. The movement of DOSOF movement is like a society of volunteer helpers to Army and the Navy, was widespread, where they learned everything from jumping out of planes to freaking shooting to do medical stuff, whatever. And then, of course, there was Voroshilov rifleman movement, which was, my mom was one of them, by the way.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, so it was something to do for young people to go and learn shooting and compete. And they didn't shoot any 22s.
Yeah.
They shot at freaking big guns. So, no, average recruit, like my grandfather was a recruit, ran the technical station in his country, his town,
Yeah.
or village, whatever. And so, no, when somebody says that average Russian recruit was a dumb one, he couldn't possibly comprehend the SVT rifle, I'm just fucking laughing, going.
Well, you know,
The
they're
dumber
basing it on it being a conscripted army, and Yeah.
Well, it wasn't conscripted, but I'm just saying the stock of it, the main stock of it, and let's say you take the dumb guy that in fact was, spending his days as my, you know, holding a cow tail or something or whatever. There's nothing hard to comprehend. Within the week, he'll be a specialist freaking SVT gunner.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So all these arguments and stuff is all bullshit. But in any case,
hear themselves spout. That's all that is.
Right. In any case, so the RPK. So all those people, the same people, would say, "Oh, he will drop the freaking RPK." Spetsnaz in Afghanistan will drop the. I tell you what, I had 2 officers in my group, 2 officers, not even NCOs or enlisted or whatever, 2 officers, like a senior lieutenant and captain, that carried freaking RPKs with them on every mission and used them with the freaking precision. And so anyone that says, "Oh, RPK is some kind of inferior weapon," again, I curse their eyes, because I know what I'm talking about. This is
how people feels about the RPK, ladies and gentlemen.
And then there's some people, like even nowadays, like in Chechnya and stuff, they would remove the bipod, right? Because sometimes it's cumbersome.
Yeah.
They'll remove it and then just have it like a weird looking long barrel AK.
Yeah. So let's do that. I want to get to listener questions. And I mean, we didn't even touch on 95% of the book there. Just quickly go through that what you remember, and just what you're covering in the rest of the book here. I mean, there's a ton of information here. I mean, the bullpup. I wanted to talk about bullpups today. I love bullpups, and I wanted to talk about this today too, but I don't think we're gonna have time.
What you have is a Groza complex.
Is it what?
Groza. Groza is like a nickname for this, like a thunder, right?
Oh yeah, the Groza
thunderstorm, right? And it really didn't materialize past a few functioning samples that one of them was a 9x39 would use with the suppressor, and eventually one was built in the 7.62x39. But it really never materialized. Me as an old military guy, and I hope I don't upset anyone by saying this, I think the bullpup is a useless piece of equipment and waste of human plasma.
The novelty.
And I explained that. And I know there's people that own Tabors. There's people who are big fans of like a AUG, Steyr AUG. And they say, "Oh, the Austrian military and Australian military," which people confuse where the kangaroos are between Austria and Australia. I kid you not, in Vienna airport, in the kiosk there, when they were selling T-shirts and stuff, and I saw a T-shirt that says there are no kangaroos in Austria. But anyway, that's the only 2 countries that carry bullpups right now. Okay, and neither one of them won any wars or major what would you say, major combatant
conflicts.
So Australia sent a bunch of people to Vietnam, but had lost about 4,500 of them there. But they were all armed with the British whatever the FAL version of British gun. I don't remember the name of it, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So anyway,
but I like the bullpup. I like the idea. It's more of a novelty, like you said, but I do like bullpup. So I had this guest on a few episodes back, Neil, the combat accountant, and he's been going over to Ukraine and training some of the troops and assisting. And he ran across this bull. I'm going to show it to you here. He ran across this bullpup while he was there.
Yeah, it's the Top War license copy called Fort something. Right.
You see it?
No, I don't. It's black screen right now, but I know what you're talking about.
Oh, you're seeing a blank screen? I was trying to share my screen with you.
All right, so here's nitty gritty.
AK-74 bullpup.
Bullpup. AK-74 bullpup.
AK-74 bullpup. I wish you could see my screen.
Somebody did it in their garage, I guarantee you. I mean, the attempts were made to make like a viable weapon out of bullpups. Brits did it with their L82A1 or some shit like that. Yeah. And that's the worst fucking
Did you get my
gunnery you ever heard.
Is my screen back now?
So
is the screen back now?
Just me and you, I see the usual screen.
Okay.
So here's my thought on it. So the bullpup, right, where most of the weight of the gun is beyond the pistol grip, which is your major control hand that actually responsible for fire, right? And then you attach a 30-round magazine to it, right? And then you got extended elbow, which is not desirable as you extend your elbow, right?
Yeah.
And all that weight right here. And although you might have a front grip too, some way, so you balancing all this stuff right here. And you do your Michigan marching band steps towards the target and you punch in holes, right? But then you come on the mortar fire, right? And you have to make yourself small, right? And you have to lay down prone.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have to actually commence firing the gun because enemy infantry is advancing. How do you freaking replace and reload a magazine?
I get it. It's not practical.
And then you say, well, I'm kind of slim guy and whatever. Yeah, I can.
You start making excuses that are shit and trying to justify.
You can do it. But then you put your freaking chest rig on, and underneath it, you got your plate carrier and all kinds of, there's your backpack straps shit here. And it's a November.
You made your point. We get it.
So as an infantry fighting weapon, bullpups, layout and configuration does not have a right to exist, in my opinion. But I was wrong before, and I don't ever claim that I am the final, source of.
I mean, it's just
complete truth.
It's just practicality and common sense on that one, as far as a combat rifle, definitely. I mean, all you gotta do is say the prone position, and that just negates.
Exactly.
Right
I
there.
Always I do that.
Just prone position and just boom. But I still like them.
I mean,
would I grab a bullpup? If the shit was hitting the fan, if it was the only thing around, yeah, I would. But otherwise, I'm going to be grabbing some of those.
Yeah, and another thing is like that the AK bullpup that you showed that I covered in the book, that Groza.
Yeah, the Groza.
It was done more like for anti-terrorist application, for like a Alpha group or any of those internal ministry troops. That would.
It was more of on the move.
It's more like a police
CQB, not prone shit. It wasn't designed.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
I get that. I get it. So other chapters of significance that we might want to touch on before we get into listener questions.
Yeah. It's not a particular chapter. It's more like a line that I laid through the whole book.
Yeah.
It wasn't just like a complete triumph of Kalashnikov, who just created this gun and then at will decided to change it to AKM, and then at will he decided to change it to 74, and then at will he died, blah blah blah, and all that stuff. Yeah. No, I mean, humans by nature are lazy people. I mean, lazy creatures.
Yeah.
And since he was already recognized in this and this, he probably wouldn't initiate any kind of change, like his argument with that 6 degree stocking angle. However, it was constantly under attack. So there was always like new ambitious and young designers says, I have a better gun. And, given the credit to the Soviet military brass, they said, oh, okay, let's look at it. Let's compare it. And obviously Kalashnikov gets involved. And they, through testing and everything, they'll say, I mean, this guy has something. It has something. So Kalashnikov would be forced into changing things.
Right.
So, however, his solution to newly introduced problem potential was better, or maybe worse, but only marginally, which would not require to retooling the whole freaking plant and rewriting all the manuals.
Billions of dollars and yeah.
So he was constantly under attack several times.
And I'm sure again, it's the government, and they're going to do what they want to do, and they're like, hey, we're going to do this if we'd like you, keep your name associated with it. Kind of. So he's kind of.
I mean, just the conversation with him on 7.62 versus 5.05. He was of a thought that 7.62 by 39 was not fully developed to its full potential. And he was pushing towards doing that instead of adopting this new 5.05 cartridge. But at the same time, he was telling me how great of an AKSU gun was. and how they my thing is about to die, although I have this thing plugged in.
Plug it in.
I have it, but it's not charging because it's the one this iPhone charges. Anyway, and he was like, it's great, and we tested on the year-old hogs and stuff at 360 meters, and got to see the devastation, blah, 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 blah. So I guess he was a man of many facets.
Yeah. So let's do this. Before we get into the list of questions, I want to hear about the dinner. How did you get a meeting with Mikhail Kalashnikov? And this was, what year was this? 2001?
2001. It was happening in September 11th, which we learned about as the dinner was over and the driver was listening to, which was weird, Russian radio that was switching between ABC and NBC, switching between things, and then we couldn't believe it. We went to our hotel and turned on the TV, and we watched how towers collapsed.
Oh, wow. So you were in Russia when 9/11 happened.
Yeah, and you remember it was ground stop, right? Zero.
Yes.
So they stopped all the planes and shit. You got to see the next day we spent on the phone, spend all kinds of time trying to see if we can get some kind of flight to maybe England somewhere or Sweden or something, and then take some kind of boat across or trying to get back.
Whatever.
But it just so happens that my Delta flight that I originally booked was the first one out, so I was good.
Oh, wow.
And Mark Krebs and David Fortian, who were with me, they were flying an Aeroflot, and they had to rebook. But we basically left Moscow at about the same time, about 3 days later. Yeah.
That in and of itself is a story.
It is. But
so were you at his house when you heard the news?
We were already leaving. We're done with the dinner. We said our goodbyes.
Oh.
And the factory provided this minivan for us, so we loaded up, and the driver says, "Hey, there's like a planes hit the towers."
Oh, wow!
Skyscrapers. And since I lived in New York, and his occasional suicide guy would run his Cessna into some tall building in Europe. In New York, and I was like, some idiot. He
That's
goes,
what
oh,
I
no.
thought. When I first heard it, that's what I thought too. I was on my way into work. I was driving in Nashville traffic and listened to the Bob and Tom show. I remember this. Dude, I don't know if you ever heard of the Bob and Tom show. It's like a morning comedy hour deal, and
They have them everywhere, I guess. It was like
yeah,
in New York, it was Howard Stern, and then
yeah,
something Bob and something in Alabama. Yeah,
yeah. Well, it was a nationally syndicated one. So anyway, they were making the announcement on there, like, yeah, we got reports that a plane has hit one of the towers or a building at the time. It was like a plane's crashed into a building in New York. You know, they didn't have the specifics yet, and that's what was running through my mind. You know, it's like, oh, you know, somebody's had a, you know, malfunction or ran out of gas or, you know, whatever, and accident kind of deal. Because you hear about them happening occasionally, but never in New York nor New York City. But
right.
and then as the story grew and more, you get it's like, and then everybody's on edge, like, are we under attack? And
Yeah, you know, I mean, you can't imagine what. Of course,
but being out of
told
country
us.
when this is happening, you know, I can't, especially being in Russia where this is going on. So,
I mean, the reception we got the next day when we met in the IZHMASH office, it was somber. They all relayed their condolences. They even did a moment of silence. When we got to Moscow from Izhevsk, we wanted to get to the embassy, and the embassy was literally swimming in the oceans of flowers, and people were leaving their pictures of themselves in front of that, you know, from the visit to New York. And
yeah.
One interesting moment happened. It's kind of like the Russian officer, I think he was like a lieutenant colonel, came up in his uniform, and he took his cap, garrison cap on. He stood there with the head down, then he put the cap on, then saluted and turned and left. I mean, that was kind of like overwhelming show of support when that happened.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable. But in any case.
So, yeah, I mean, fortunate that didn't happen before. So you actually got to go through your meeting with Mikhail. And
yeah.
So how did you get this set up? How did this all come about? How were you able to get with him?
So I had my connections in there in the factory, like in the periphery of a factory. And David Fortier suggested that, or he basically told me that he wants to go there, and then Mark Krebs, who he was friends with at the time, also wanted to go to Russia and would love to go to Izhevsk. So I organized that part. And however, as we were organizing it, my contact was friends with the personal photographer of Kalashnikov. And that dude saw some kind of potential in Ryder, the gunsmith, and some budger coming over there trying to sell his pictures, I'm thinking. You know, things that were not published at the time. And so he, through my contact, organized, well, not only that he organized the meeting with Kalashnikov, he also, and you know, when somebody is trying to get to Kalashnikov stuff, it's the town, that factory is basically, everybody knows everybody. And a factory kind of found out that the American delegation, to say that loosely,
you yahoos,
right, coming to the thing, and then they kind of took over organization for the actual official visit to the factory and demonstration of we fired the Bison AN-94 Nikonov Abakan gun that was supposed to replace AK, you know, that's recoilless gun.
How'd that go?
You know, I mean, obviously, I mean, you fire 2 rounds and it feels like a 1 round fired, but then it switches normal. But when they opened it up, lower and upper receiver, I looked at it and I said, this freaking thing will never ever replace AK. It was full of freaking pulleys and cables. and other shit. I mean, I'm
Look
thinking
like
about
Swiss
maintaining.
watch.
It was, but in any case, and then the SV98, which is the sniper rifle that they're using now.
Yeah.
So
That's
Marco,
all the stuff that they were making at that factory. Is that what it was?
yeah, the IZHMASH, yeah,
Yeah, the IZHMASH.
yeah. And so anyway, and so we all of a sudden we just wanted to just meet him for like a picture opportunity, right? Just shake hands.
Yeah.
And then the minivan pulls to our hotel and says, "We're gonna go meet Kalashnikov." And I was like, "Oh, cool, all right." And I had like I'm a member of, well, I don't know if the organization still exists, but at the time it was like Kalashnikov Collectors Association.
Okay. Cool.
With John Connor, he sent me the letter to present it to him, and then somebody else gave me a K-bar knife, like some anniversary version of it. And Kalashnikov collected knives,
Oh, okay.
so to
Interesting.
give it to him and stuff like that. So I literally, my expectations were 10, 15 minutes. Here's the gifts. Appreciate the stuff. Your rifle, it saved my life. Blah blah blah. Shake hands. Can we take a picture? Type of deal.
Pat on the back. See you later.
Right. But then we get in the van and we're going to like out in the outskirts, and we're going like, where we're going? Oh, we're gonna go to his summer home. And I was like, what? Yeah, for dinner. And I was like, oh, we didn't bring anything. Like, we didn't buy the dinner. We were gonna host him, right? Oh, I mean, natural reaction. He says, no, everything is. Don't worry about it. And here we walk in, and here he is.
Oh,
He's
God.
gigantic size of 5'5", maybe 5'6", the most.
Right.
In the house shoes, and
Do you like Hugh Hefner? Do you have his smoking jacket on? And
no, he had that like a members only type of thing, and unbelievable. He was very receptive, very kind, or listened to us, and then when we sat down for dinner, and it's his girlfriend that was cooking the dinner, who was much younger than him, not
Summer
not
house.
what you think, like in her maybe 50s.
Yeah.
And or maybe 60s even, I don't know. But delicious food. And of course the vodka came out, and that was Kalashnikov vodka. And and then we sat at the table and we talked, and he told us all the stories. He everything that you heard on TV was actually said to us face to face. How he was at the railroad depot, and all these women helped him to do this and this, all of that. And then of course we had our questions about certain things, and the usual shit. And he was really
Shit. Don't skip the mundane. That's the fun stuff. Don't skip.
no, I mean, we were talking about how about the difference between AKs and AKMs and 74s. We touched on the stock thing and other things.
Punched a nerve there, didn't you?
Not really. I mean, I was, first of all, who am I to argue with?
Now, were you speaking Russian or were you speaking English?
Well, I spoke Russian obviously to him, and I translated for Mark and for David.
Okay. So
David had more questions than anybody.
I can imagine. I can imagine. So what's something during your meeting with him that you found out that you were like, oh, I never knew that, or just really caught you off guard kind of deal?
Nothing of his background, a history that I didn't know, and all of a sudden some revelation came, or he was already removed so far from development or further development of the guns that probably wasn't a level at that point with him as far as knowing the gun and how it operates and all that. But what was really surprising is how open and how receptive he was to us being there and having just conversations, about families, some things, and about where you're from, and that kind of stuff. And I mean, he asked, and just basic conversation like you would have with friendly person sitting right next to you while trying to shove delicious food into your cake hole.
What kind
But
of food do you have?
I'm just that how human I guess he was, or
Yeah.
that was the big. He's not just a uh, nationally known figure,
World known. Yeah.
world known, world around. I mean, if I pull just about,
He's
probably
one of the most famous.
60% of Americans would probably know who he is or know of AK and stuff. You tell them I met Kalashnikov, they say, who? They say the guy that invented AK. Oh, really? Yeah.
That guy. Yeah.
So, and, so that was kind of
Real
surprising.
humble kind of guy. No
Very
airs
humble,
about him.
no, nothing. And, I mean, he was like lieutenant general at the time, hero Soviet Union and hero socialist labor, or whatever, like double, like equivalent of Congressional Medal of Honor and then the Presidential Medal of Freedom, both.
Yeah.
So he was all that. And me being, I was in the military, old guy, so I realize I'm talking to, so this is something in the back of my mind, and I'm talking to a general here. But more so, just a normal,
Wow.
kind,
I mean, that's just
human person.
be in the presence of an icon like that, and especially not expecting it like you got. I mean, you're just completely caught off guard. It's like, oh shit, we're gonna sit down to dinner with this guy. We're going to his house. Holy cow! I mean, that just had to have been petrified.
Yeah, and then I mean, it's his household who cooked the dinner for us, and
Yeah.
that was even more surprising. And the thing is, like, I think we kind of elevate our icons, the people, us peons, then and when we meet kind of famous person, like I met Michael Spinks, for example. I don't know if you remember who he was.
The boxer.
Yeah, and I thought, but he was, still boxing, like he couldn't put two words together, right? Like his interviews were like, turns out he is a freaking scholar.
Oh, really?
And I spent 2.5 hours with him just talking. Just talk. I took him to a Crown Room, Delta Crown Room, as my guest at the airport, and we talked for 2.5 hours, just about the life in general, kind of.
Yeah.
Touched on some of the boxes. His analysis was like spot on, and he was very eloquent the way he spoke, and I really enjoyed.
I wouldn't have thought
that kind
yeah,
of
I just figured
conversation with him.
so
we often maybe mistake that fame and stardom in some of the people, but in reality, they're just people, just humble, kind people. So
now,
that was a surprise.
How much vodka did y'all drink?
So there was, let's see, him, me, David, Mark is not a heavy drinker, and that major guy was still wearing uniform.
Yeah.
And I think we put away about 2.5 bottles.
Okay, well, that's not a whole lot.
That's not bad. The night before, was the night before. It's entirely different book in Moscow. I mean, let's put this way: I had to use my Sambo that night. But anyway, but yeah. So
saw the nightlife of Moscow, huh?
Oh my God, it was and yet somehow it was like normal. So, somehow it was perceived as a normal thing.
Yeah.
But there were people
night out on the town.
Some people went to hospital. Some people were just unconscious, and it was just unbelievable. And in the midst of it was another friend of mine who was a head of a quick reaction force in Moscow. He had 16 trips to Chechnya. and his height was like 7 foot tall,
Holy crap.
and probably like 300 pounds of muscle. And his nickname was Big Ivan.
Yeah.
Eventually became Inspector General for Ministry of Internal Affairs, cops, police,
Right.
and lieutenant general was his rank.
Wow. And he was hanging out with you guys?
Oh yeah, at the time he was a colonel.
Oh, you guys were untouchable.
Oh man, we were. Well, some people tried to touch us.
Some people tried, but then
Yeah, that guy. I seen him hit a person, and it was just.
Oh my gosh.
Real. But anyway, it was.
All right, so back to the dinner. Is there anything, after? Because again, I guarantee. I mean, you're just like, you're kind of, you probably like this, got your blinders on, deer in the headlight. Something that you wanted to ask him, or you're like, damn it, I wish I would have asked him this.
Not really. I mean, like I said, we were prepared to go and do shake hands.
Yeah.
And take pictures and say, oh, we're not worthy.
Yeah.
And then leave. We didn't really expect to spend like 3 or more.
Well, that's what I mean. It's like, it's just all of a sudden you've got this opportunity.
There is one.
I knew it. I knew it.
So, I mean, when you invent something, that's your baby, right? And his invention story doesn't start with the gun. It starts with some tachometer for a tank.
Hmm.
But before we go, we're already outside, and he has like a off a back porch. You come down, and he's got like a little orchard and / garden, small, and then he's got some like sheds built up, like nice sheds on the side and then towards the back. And he goes, wait. So we're like, okay. And he goes to a shed and he brings out a lawnmower that he invented, which was like it's almost like a cultivator or tiller handles, then one big motor on the top, and there's some kind of like a string type of like a weed whacker type of arrangement. He says, yeah, I built this. I came up with it. I built it. Still works. And he demonstrated that thing.
So he mowed his yard
for us. And that was like totally unexpected. And yet, totally Kalashnikov,
Tell me you got a picture of that.
No, I don't. At that time, we were like just dumbfounded. I didn't drag it to the floor.
Is he really just showing us this weed whacker?
Right, and it's not like nicely done and painted or anything. It's still like a working prototype.
Yeah.
Knowing that there's like the more modern shit available.
Oh yeah,
there,
tons
and
of
then he is with this thing that he built in the 70s or something. But yeah, that was one.
Probably has people that does his yard work. So.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
That's funny. All right, if anything else comes to mind while we're doing this, feel free to interject. But let's get to our listener questions. We got some giveaways, Marco, that we want to do.
All right.
Sponsors of the show, Mission First Tactical, have come out with their new belly band holster, and it was released at SHOT Show this year. And we talked about it, had them on the show, talking about the breathable material, the extraordinary space. So you've got room for your gun, extra mags, knives, flashlights, and it's got these nice administrative pockets that you can zip and unzip on both sides. So you can put your skull in there if you want to. You can put
you can put your weed in it.
You put your weed, your gummies.
Remember that from Rob Schneider from Saturday Night Live years back?
Yeah. So the tactical belly band, we're going to give away one of these to one of our participants.
Oh, you gotta make a little disclaimer: the gun does not come with it or any of those accessories.
Oh no, none of my stuff comes with that. It's for your stuff to put in there. And then our good friends and sponsors of the show, Seal One, we're going to give away one of their awesome gun cleaning kits. It's actually going to probably be this one that we give away, the bigger one. that's got all their cleaning products in there. Great to prevent corrosion of your firearms, your knives, anything. You can put it on just about anything, and it works great. And it's bio-friendly also, so you don't have to worry about growing a third ear or anything by using this stuff. Completely safe. And it smells good too, Marco, by the way. I like dabbing a little bit on before I go out on my dates.
And here I was using gun oil. Damn it, that's why I could never get
using Ballistol, are you?
Ballistol. Or creosote when I worked at the railroad.
Oh yeah,
that would scare them.
Use that grease. All right, let's go to Instagram. Let's go to the post. Trying to get there. I got too many things open here. There we go. So we'll start off with, at the time of this recording, I'm seeing we've got about 19 or so. And it was a late post. I apologize for posting this up late, guys. I usually give you a little more time. Nikolai Ablanap. Big fan of the AK Corner. Big fan of yours too. He says, just saying, it's one of my favorite books I have on my shelf, and being a signed copy from Marco makes it next level cool.
Wow. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you
signed copy. How do you get a signed copy, Marco?
I guess you can always, maybe through you, contact through AK Corner and arrange for a book to be sent to me, and then I'll send it back to you. Sign it. The only thing, if I sign that book, right, it loses its value, because when you try to resell it and they look at, you see my signature and say some idiot went and ruined it, and then it's worth nothing. But anyway, anytime you want to send it to me, I'll be happy to sign it and send it back.
Okay, I'm going to send you my copy. Or are you going to be at NRA?
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm going to bring my copy to NRA. I'm going to be. We are going to be, Talking Lead is going to be set up at Kel-Tec's booths. So for those NRA, we'll have the studio set up. Come by and see us. And Mark, I expect to see.
We'll make point of doing it. And if any of the listeners are listening and you do have a copy and you're going to go to Indianapolis for NRA, I'll be happy to sign it and stuff. I'll be just circling around.
Why don't we do this, Marco? Why don't we set a day and time that you're going to be there, and you will sign people's book. You'll do autograph signings.
Sure, absolutely.
Okay. Let's do it. So Marco and I will get together, and we'll shoot out the day and time where you can come by the Kel-Tec booth and get your book signed by Marco, and maybe he'll have a couple that he'll hand out too. We'll see.
Unfortunately, I don't have any.
You don't have any more?
No, and
I looked on Amazon, and they had
Caribou Media.
They said there's only one left in stock on Amazon.
They always do that. For years they've been doing it. Only 3 left, or only 13 left, and then the next week it goes on sale.
Now I didn't know that.
But I did find one on the eBay that was 101 starting bid.
Wow, so there you go.
To those books
must be signed. All right,
didn't say.
But now says, what is your opinion of the newer 100 series AKs? Are they improved over the original designs? We kind of talked about the.
Yeah, it's basically so 100 series AKs. It's I guess I'm going to have to, let's see. All right, so we talked about AKM platform versus the AK-74 platform, and whereas the AKM platform, and arguably, I mean, it's popular, but it's kind of reached its ceiling as far as development is concerned, and AK-74 has not. And if there's any further development of AK, it's always going to be 74 platform. And the AK-100 series is basically a multi-caliber 74 platform, 103 in 7.62 and 101 in 5.56. So I'm all for it. It's the modern version of AK that has a potential to be modified and modernized and modularized. So yeah, I'm a big fan. I own several, um, full auto machine guns as well as carbines.
There you go. Flood Munitions. Our good buddy Evan. Evan's going to be at NRA 2, Leadheads. He's going to be my cameraman again, taking care of us. So be looking for Evan. He says, or he asks, do you consider the AK pattern rifle that fires the 5.56 by 4.5 a true AK, or is it just another imposter? I'll be in the market for your book. Well, you better hurry. There's only one left on Amazon.
So anyway, all kidding aside, no, it's still AK. Like we touched on the subject of operating system and mechanisms that deployed. It's like saying is AR, the 300 blackout AR, or like a 6.5 Grendel AR. It's still AR.
The rifle.
Yeah, it's absolutely is. It's just different caliber. It would also be in 1974 when they went away from 7.62 AKMs to AK-74s. Is it still AK? Yeah, it is. Just different caliber. And as a matter of fact, it's not bad. The AK and 5.56, it's not bad. It's
hear that, Aura? That's Nikolai Alplanap. He hates 5.45. Or 5.4, but 5.56. Sorry, 5.56. He hates 5.56.
Well, I mean, yeah, because he probably knows like few of us that know that 5.45 is the shit. It's the caliber. So kudos to him.
I don't have a 5.45 yet. I need to get a 5.45.
It will change your life. If you're ready for the change, then get it.
Yeah, I mean, I've shot several of them. I just haven't found one that I really want to own yet, but I do want one. So that's going to be like my next. That's on my next. When I get around to it, I'm going to get one. Glautru, Marco, what is your favorite optic to run on the 7.62 by 3.9 AKs?
Okay.
And then we'll talk about your 5.5.
Right. So people who's been listening to me and maybe reading stuff would know that I'm a big armament technology Elcon Spectre DR.
See, that hasn't changed because you said that on our very first episode that we did with you. The Elcon.
Yes, yes, and it still is, and I have them. So, for all practical purposes, right? When you're talking about using an optics on the fighting carbine, just because on dynamic battlefield it changes from 0 to, let's say, to maybe a 600 meters, and that flippable ability to flip between a true one and 4 is great, but like I said, 400, I mean, legitimate engagement where you can actually hit something lies, to a 400 maybe meters, slightly past that, then you would probably want it like more of like a sniper type of employee, sniper like tactics per se, to take something out at that distance. And it just so happens that the BDC that built into the Elcon DR that's actually has a radical 223, I mean 5.56 radical, lends itself pretty well within, and then we're talking a battlefield, 1 or 2 inches don't really mean much. You're not shooting into left eye or
right.
You shouldn't center mass, and deviation of 1 to 2 inches at the distances of 400 don't really mean much. So it lends itself really well with 5.45. And then their version of 7.62, which obviously refers to 7.62 NATO or 308, or close to 308, it works really well with the 7.62 by 39 to up to about 300 to 400 meters. And again, the deviation there, 1 to 2, maybe 3 inches if you aiming at shooting at the center mass or even the head size target,
Yeah.
not going to change the outcome. So you back to your question, on my 545 gun, I got Elcon, Spectre DR with the 5.56 reticle. On my 7.62 gun, I have a DR, Spectre DR with the reticle and 7.62 reticle.
Yeah.
However, having said that,
caveat.
there's because everybody knows, like, and I sound like elitist over here, which I'm not. I just love those things, and I'm lucky to possess them. But they like what, $2,300, I think, retail, just crazy.
Buy once, cry once, right?
And so there are two other options. One is Primary Arms.
I was gonna say, yeah, I've got
a fixed 4, 7.62 by 39 designated.
Yeah.
Optic. And then the other one is my personal favorite, is Hilux CMR 124 AK 7.62 model. And that one is a 124 lighted reticle. It's a 30 millimeter tube. It has, if you look at it, it has makings of or signage of $1,000 scope.
Yeah.
But in reality, it's like a $300 scope, and it's been tested. I have a copy. I have the first prototype, and I have a production copy version, and both of them good to go.
Nice.
Awesome, great glass, work great.
Also, like the LPVO from Primary Arms that they have with the ACCS 7.62 reticle.
Mm.
I like
but
that.
See that the Hilux thing,
Mm-hmm.
I actually took part in the design of that reticle, and when you look at it and your horizontal, your windage scale, all the way to the right, it's got series of crosses. It looks like almost like 3 crosses in Golgotha. You're right, but it's a series of crosses, and the crosses represent upper part of the cross is the head, the crossbar is the width of the shoulder, and the rest of the cross is the body of an average 5'10" person. And if you can lay over that cross over a human silhouette, it will tell you how far it's a rangefinder.
Nice. And do you get a little cut of every one of those that's sold?
No, absolutely not.
Oh, okay. Well, go buy Primary Arms then. Just kidding. Check it out. I need to check that one out. The Hilux. Okay.
Great optics. It's a older Leatherwood. If anybody knows from way back in olden days, Leatherwood optics. He was a sniper in Vietnam, and the equipment he was issued, Leatherwood. I forgot his first name. He asked his father to send him his deer rifle, and because the optics that at that time U.S. was issuing was not really good, so he came back from Vietnam and he opened up his own optic company in California. But few years back, and I'm talking about more like 20-something years back,
decade.
Chinese company bought them out, and it's called Hilux Leatherwood. And the person, I know Mr. Wu personally, okay, the president of the company. I know his son, who's in charge, Christopher, in charge of his marketing and sales. And they not typical Chinese company, okay, the way they operate. He is into innovation, all the best stuff. He went and acquired German glass and manufacturing machines and stuff. It's just, you would know. I mean, you would see once you see it.
I'm gonna Google them and find them here when we get off. All right, next question. John Adams III. Oh, and we kind of talked about this already. It's just, how does the 5.45 compare ballistically to the 7.62 against donkey caravans? Haha.
Well,
Get
it's, you know,
more accuracy out of the 5.45.
yeah, it's more accuracy, and you can reach out further, but you got to also realize that it's basic physics, right? So transfer of energy, if projectile weighs more, obviously it would transfer more energy when on the impact, but it just doesn't carry that energy further. So you might, you know, you take down a donkey with the 5.45, and there's no problem. That's been done.
The
But
obstacle out of the way to shoot the people.
right, but the thing is, you know, you got to also realize that it's not like you're not trying to snipe anyone when you're firing a short bursts, you know, ta 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 ta, you know, and it's the 5.45 would carry further and will impact on a large body like donkey, probably with more precision and more probability.
Mustang Perry says, I'm going to have to get me a copy of this. Go to Amazon. There's only one left. First come, first serve. And bring it to NRA, and we'll get Marcos to come by the Keltec booth and sign it. If Marco would be so inclined.
Absolutely, I will do it. No question.
Ryan, or I'm sorry, Pacific Northwesterner, question for Marco. What is your white whale rifle and why?
Light whale.
White whale, I guess,
Oh,
like the one you're after that's hard. It's hard to get.
There is one. There is one, and I'm working on getting it. And most likely, probably within 2 years, I'll have it. And not only I'll have it, everybody who wants it will have it. But I'm working on it. And this is obviously the VSS Vintorez rifle. And because of my licensing, I can turn it into a real thing, meaning that it will go ratata, and it will have the internal suppressor on it.
Nice.
But yeah, so that's the gun I'm after. Another one possibly is Stechkin pistol, but that one has more sentimental value to me than anything else, and more of the Stechkin APS.
Oh, okay.
Automatic pistol.
Yeah, is that one that you had in service?
Yeah, I carried it as a personal defense weapon. I never fired it in anger, but you know, it was absolute queen at the range. Everybody wanted to shoot it. But yeah, VSS Vintorez in 9x39. I already have a magazine.
Look at there, starting at the bottom and working your way up.
With 9x39 ammo loaded.
There you go. Just waiting on it.
Right, but before that, and that's a success story. So I had several white whales going through life, I guess, acquiring weapons. Obviously, one was the SVDS, and it took me about 4 years to acquire that. Then PKM, and I have both in semi-auto and full auto now. And it was a lot harder to get semi-auto. It took me about 6 years to get it.
Ooh.
From the time I set on that journey. And the last but not least, and one of my last ones that or recent ones that I acquired was Ulfbert, and that's the Alexander Arms 338 Lapua precision rifle. Right. That is semi-automatic, and the recoil's like 308.
Nice. That'll reach out too, won't it?
Oh, it sure will. So I hope that answers your question.
Oh yeah, I started drooling a little bit. I don't know if you noticed. I would like to have all of those. Hey Marco, this is from Ryan Reisner. I loved your book. It was excellent. Do you consider yourself more of a purist or more of a tactical modern AK guy? Do your boys like the AK as much as you do? I let my son pull the trigger on mine when he was 2, and he got a kick out of it and finished out the magazine.
Okay, great question, Ryan. Thank you very much for appreciating the book.
Bring it to NRA. He'll sign it.
Yep. All right. So, it's kind of like a Janus, not Janus, maybe yin and yang with the purist and tactical thing. I'm both. Can I be both?
Yeah,
I am
absolutely.
both. I have a collection of just the straight up guns, and then at the same time I have tactical AKs of all kinds. So I am, I guess, I'm both. Can I be both?
I'm both. I don't see
But
why
I
you
would,
can't.
you
I
know,
swing both ways, Marco.
yeah, there you go. That's what I'm by AK, I guess.
I'm by AK. I like that. Chambered defense. Can't wait to listen or watch this one.
Oh, okay. Hang on. I forgot the second part of Ryan's question
Oh, I'm
about the
sorry.
kid.
Do your
About
kids
the
like the
kids.
AK?
Yeah, my older son is also my partner in, Type 7 FFL with SOT that we have, and we build machine guns and we train ROTC. And he is probably the biggest, gun, bigger gun nut than me. So you have to look at his.
We gotta get him on the show sometime.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
I would love to have him
And
on.
of course he's got AKs up to wazoo, and he is more of like let's see if I can phrase it right. He is a purist when it comes down to tactical guns. Like if he sees that some operator wields it in the battlefield, that's what he wants, and it goes to for his ARs and things like that. So he wants all the like Navy SEAL
Oh
shit
yeah,
that they
I think that's
carry.
most people are that way.
Right, and the same with AKs. And so he doesn't have any like Type 3, AKM, AKMS, all that stuff. He doesn't have it. But he has all the like 103s, 74Ms, and all that stuff, and they all decked out too. And
Yeah.
he also has AK 104, I guess. Is it? Yeah, 104. The shorty SBR, and it's all decked out in Zenitco stuff. And yeah, he is purist, tactical purist.
He's tactical purist. I got you.
Right, right.
I
All
want.
right.
I like both because I do like the original, the pure, just straight AK, just because I like the looks of them. I just
Yeah,
art.
yeah,
I admire the beauty of a good classic AK. But then again, functionality and use wise, if I'm going to battle with one, I'm gonna tack that shit out.
yeah. It's all about functionality and also knowing your gun. And what I mean by
That's
that is
key.
like, especially like when people take courses, uh, let's say, like carbine courses, and they show up with a brand new freaking gun, and then, something falls off of it because he didn't insert it right, or it doesn't do this, it doesn't do that. He becomes that guy that slows everybody down.
Yeah.
So you got to train with the gun, with your gun. You got to know your gun. Any accessory you put on it, you better train with it, so you know how to use it, that kind of stuff. So anyway, for my 2 cents.
Chamber of Defense says, can't wait to listen or watch this one, and you can do both because we record them now. We record the video and post it on YouTube, but it's sometime after the podcast. So usually about a week later, you can get the video. Esom 87, Marco, what are your thoughts on the Yugo pattern AK?
Solid platform. Remember we talked about when is AK becomes not AK. Solid platform, and all the credit for developing that solid platform that Yugo guns are goes to Serbians or Yugoslavians per se, and not necessarily to Soviet Union or Kalashnikov himself, because at the time when when the acquisition of AK happened in Yugoslavia, Yugoslavia and the Soviet Union were not on the speaking terms. Though both socialist countries and stuff, and reading from the same manual, but they were not friends. And so Yugoslavia was never a Warsaw Pact country, and therefore Russia never gave them a license. I mean, they stopped it after they gave them SKS license. They never gave them the AK license.
Yeah.
And how they acquired the AKs was when two Albanians, border guards, escaped or defected with their guns to Yugoslavia. And when they got the guns, they looked at it and they immediately sent it to Zastava factory to, you know, research it and see and
reverse engineer it.
Right, but two guns is not enough, so they went on and they said we need to get more. So the Yugoslavians bought like 2,200 guns from some a Soviet-friendly country in Africa, and then they started their own production. And when they started, oftentimes when you start looking at the gun, and it's obviously AK, but it's so much different. Well, you got to look at the manufacturing capabilities of the country at the time of the factory makes them, and also their creativity, I guess, their creative thought. Like maybe, we should do a bit because that's different because it's going to be better. Like let's do a thicker receiver, or let's do this and this.
Or they just didn't know how to measure.
So it's a solid platform. I don't know. Just because the way it's built, obviously it's the accessories are not, or parts are non-compatible. I don't know if it ever will turn into something that you can like tactical it to a modern standard. But like I said, it's a good solid gun.
It is what it is.
It is, yeah, it is what it is. It's a good gun. Maybe it's definitely has roots in Kalashnikov, but it's its own variety, I guess.
So apparently Esom also has your book. He said, this is a great read. Anyone who loves the AK needs to read it. Tell anyone who's just curious about the AK should read it. I concur. And you better hurry because there's only one left on Amazon. First come, first serve. And bring them to NRA. We'll get Marco to sign them. Bailey Mueller 80, with the Serbs creating their M17 and a 6.5 Grendel chambering, do you think we'll see AKs chambered in non-traditional rounds more widespread, or will 7.62, 5.45, 5.56 always reign supreme?
Okay, so Molot, right? That maker of Vepers.
Yeah. Actually
brought in one of the importers that dealt with them. They brought in 6.5 Grendel. They made 6.5 Grendel
yeah
at the time. I think somebody's working on like 300 blackout, and I'm like, why? You can suppress the 7.62 by 39 just as good, and you would still have that oomph behind it rather than castrated 300 blackout round. And I think there's gunsmiths that play with the platforms and would probably have some other calibers, integrated into AK platform. However, will it have a mass distribution or mass following? I seriously doubt it, and the reason for that is because of the availability of ammunition and the cost of it.
Yeah.
And I think the popularity
barrels,
right? Popularity of the AK rifles was only partially driven by like appreciation of a platform itself, but it's mainly because the ammo was so cheap or accessible.
Accessibility of the ammunition.
With the history that's going on in Ukraine and all these sanctions and shit, maybe in a few years we'll see that the main AK rifle sold would be in 5.56, or maybe some other caliber, but not at the moment though.
But do you think that ammo manufacturers are going to try to fill the void of the 7.62 by 39 and start manufacturing more of the 7.62 by 3?
They do now. They do now, but I think it's going to be the bulk of it would be left on Bulgarians, Romanians, and Serbs,
Or we
possibly some Bosnians.
get it imported.
So it's still going to be imported ammo,
Yeah.
mostly. Czech ammo, you know, Seller Balot, PPU Serbs, the Romanians, and so on and so on. And most likely Turkey will join the fray, but we'll see. But local manufacturers, they do now, but the problem is there will be a cost. I mean, the reason why PPU is so popular, it's the shittiest ammo you can put in your gun, but because it's brass case and everybody thinks like they think in the way of a grackle. If it's shiny, then it's gold, you know, but it shoots like a freaking musketon or a blunderbuss, you know, and not always even shoots. And however, the reason why it's popular is because it's 34 cents a round. You know, whenever you start getting into past 50, like into like 60 cents a round, 75 cents a round, then you put yourself in the level. Then all of a sudden, 223 and 556 becoming a great option.
Yeah.
Even now you can get them for about 40 cents a round or something.
Still too high.
Yeah, but you know, I mean, the people used to pay a nickel for a burger and a shake, right?
Yeah, used to pay
now it's
98 cents a gallon for gas. Yeah. All right, B. Hurst has several questions here, and we've addressed most of them. Let's see if he's got one here. Anything we should know about history of the 54R? Anything you want to just touch on about that, or
54R?
Yeah, 54R.
No, nothing but amazement. I mean, think about it. This cartridge was designed in 1891.
Mm-hmm.
And it's still produced and it's still used in such iconic platforms as PKM, SVD, SV98, the newer version of PKMP, you know, the Pecheneg machine gun, and withstood test of time, going through numerous wars, right? And continue to be one of the main 30 caliber rounds in some of the major militaries,
Right.
and you know, being awkward, but it just goes to show you, it's like I don't know if you kind of stumble across, you stumble your feet on some rock and then you look and you see that's piece of gold. Did that happen? Or the 19th century ammo designers were that good? But in any case, I mean, you got a variety based on that particular cartridge. You got a caliber. You got a variety of all the modern loads, like armor piercing, incendiary, you know, you name it. Sniper, the high, you know, high accuracy sniper round. I mean, something that is produced in mass, right? And yet it matches the performance of a hand loaded or small batch production ammo. So great ammo. I don't know when it's going to die, but it's definitely.
I mean, it's been around for a minute. I don't think it's died anytime soon.
Yeah. And I'm, like I said, I'm enjoying shooting it out of World War II guns, and I enjoy shooting it out of you know, somewhat modern guns.
Yeah. Boba 1776. I think this is probably going to be our last one here. What is a feature that you would say has had the most impact on the longevity of the AK, and what is an underused feature of the AK? Let's do that one. What's an underused feature of the AK?
Loaded. Okay. I got to wrap my head around this question.
Okay.
So, which feature was the best out of AK, right?
Basically, which one has had the most impact in it surviving as long as it has, I guess is what he's saying.
I'm going to say go to the sub caliber. Going from 7.62 by 39, going to 5.05. That was the major leap, so to speak, into the future. The gun that changed the dynamic of the gun, the way it behaved, the way it shot, the way, you know, it's increased accuracy, it's increased its handling, and I think, yeah, it's 5.05 caliber would be the feature of that gun. And if to understand it, I guess you gotta kind of get yourself involved with the AK-74 platform, if it makes any sense. Like get one, or have a friend who has one, go and ask them to go and shoot and buy the ammo or whatever, and kind of like a, you know, just do the rapid fire, and the advantage of it immediately comes into play when you do. And I'm not talking about obviously the full auto. It's not even comparable. I mean, the M4 doesn't come close. Again, my personal opinion, right? So because somebody just, you know, might listening to says, "Oh, he's full of shit. My, you know, M4 is like the best ever." But in reality, you know, go and get involved with the AK-74 somehow.
If you disagree with Marco, shoot him an email.
What's that?
I said, if you disagree with Marco, shoot him an email at.
Right. But anyway, so that's probably its best is AK-74, going to AK-74 platform. And then the feature that is underutilized, hard to tell. I don't know. I mean, you know, the biggest complaint about AK recently was, oh, it's not modular enough. And I'm like thinking, what are you going to put on it?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you know, they've been making the side rails since 1940s, late 40s, to mount those infrared, the first generation night vision stuff.
Yeah, optics.
Right. The M16 platform wasn't even a glimpse in its parents' eyes at the time. Right. So, okay, so you put something on the side of the AK, and then you got yourself any kind of combination of things. If it's 1913 rail or Picatinny rail, or it's anything you want, specifically designated optic for it. So what else you need to put on it? Well, they say, well, you need to put like the flashlight. It's like, really, for what? You know, signal the enemy where you actually are in the like.
You gotta, like you said, just like your son, you gotta tack it out, just like the military guys are running. You know, you gotta put all.
Right, but like a flashlight in the any kind of operation. I want to go back what I did. In any of my engagements, did I ever need a freaking flashlight? Never. Now you can put like a designated, like IR designated laser or something. The you know, laser designator, yes, and then you know, you just replace your handguards, and now variety of things, options available on it. So, and then in recent years, of course, people like Midwest Industries, by the way, who's coming out with their Alpha line soon. I think they came out, but they just kind of sold out, and I'm trying to catch up with production. I'm waiting for my first set. That seems to be an awesome thing. Then you got a variety of people like Mark Krebs produced good stuff. Obviously, the Zenitka was the shit, but now you can't get it, and we'll never probably get it. But I mean, you can tactical your AK now to the same levels as any AR. You know, with the new long handguards, with the M-lock, put whatever on it you want. And, you know, but I think at the time, maybe that question would have been better about 15 years ago.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When the AK was, and I'm not making any like. I'm just saying how it was. AK was behind times the AK platform. When the ARs just leaps and bounds ahead with the different handguards and Picatinny rail up top on the receiver and all that stuff, AK was still kind of like a. Well, I got that side mount. Let me see if I can get a good one to put on. But yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, but now it's hard to say what underutilized feature that gun is. But also, I'm a big fan of a kind of heavy, the front heavy gun rather than the back heavy gun, which the AK is the front heavy, and therefore the recoil management kind of is a little better.
Right.
But
that's
all I have to say about that.
That's all I gotta say about that. And then the coldest environment that you've operated an AK in, Old Tennessean wants to know. And then I've got a couple of emails that we're gonna read real quick.
Okay, so coldest environment probably minus 20 Celsius. That's normal from where I come from. So it's not, let's see, the real quick conversion. I think it's close to 0 somewhere, or like 6 degrees or something.
Oh, you're Celsius.
Celsius, yeah. Let's see.
Give us some American temperatures here.
Let's see. Okay, temperature. Okay, minus 20. It's minus 4 Fahrenheit.
Okay. I mean, still, it's cold ass weather to try to operate in.
I mean, if you prepare for it, you dress for it.
But your weapon worked flawlessly, no problems.
Yeah, no problem at all. I mean, you get your hindrances are like the gloves, the big coat, maybe a hat and stuff. So that would hinder you move. You move.
Call him back. We're gonna wrap it up.
That's my 94-year-old neighbor.
Oh, probably, answer it then. Maybe you should answer that.
No, that's probably like, Mark, can you come over and start my dishwasher? That kind of stuff. But anyway, yeah. So
so
not a problem. But
gotcha.
It's been known. Russia has the Arctic bases.
Yeah.
Up in above the Arctic Circle and those highlands and stuff.
Well,
and they rotate soldiers, with their like more combat ready units, go in there and spend like 3 months or something, or whatever the time.
Yeah.
And of course it gets a lot colder there, and they just no problem. They have regular range trips and exercises and things like that.
All right, let's go to email here. Got a couple from you, Leadheads, email wise. Aaron P, I'm not going to say your last name, 10man 4X. It says, loved your latest episode with Paul Markle. Something to learn in every show. Question, how confident are you that American manufacturers or eligible countries will continue to fill the 7.39 gap created by Biden? Should I be considering future purchases in 5.45 or other? I currently have a Russian numbers matching SKS and a Polytech milled receiver AK, but have been shopping AK-105s lately and want to be able to feed them. Thanks and keep up the great work. So,
right. Good question too, and obviously, what I think about 5.45, and I say, yeah, sure, go for it. But here's the thing, though, about 5.05. So the sanctions on ammo manufacturers in Russia now been in place for over a year, and you don't see any increase or significant increase in price of a 5.05. And I explain why. 2 things. At one time, back in about 2008, 2009, there's a huge number of containers brought in the actual military 7.62, 5.45 by 39 7.6 rounds. Before some idiot built a fucking pardon my French, pistol in that caliber, and then of course ATF designated it as the pistol round, so therefore prohibited for importation. But nevertheless, at that time they were selling for about 12 cents a round, but you can buy the actual military surplus ammunition. And if I had to guess, container-wise, probably in that caliber, in 20-foot container, it's 1.5 million rounds.
Wow.
So I would say at that time, for those years, like starting in early 2000s, and up until it finally came to a screeching halt, if I say 200 containers, that'd probably be underestimate how much it was brought in from both from Russia and from Ukraine mainly. And then when they outlawed it, the surplus ammo, then Russia had 7 factories that produced this cartridge. Oh, I'm sorry, no, 5 out of 7 produced this cartridge. And like companies like Barnaul, that under Bear, they sold it under Bear and Wolf. Right. And then you got Tula that sold Bear and Wolf. He had Ulyanovsk, not Bear. I mean, I'm talking about Tulamo and Wolf. Ulyanovsk factory did the same thing, and they tried to, and Amur factory, which is the Golden Tiger brand. So they were bringing in sufficient amount of a 505 ammo, which kind of was stabilizing around 25 to 30 cents a round. And then when Biden finally canceled everybody's permits, right, the Form 6s for importation, there was a grace period when they were going to do it, and then they were going to allow the existing licenses to expire on its own, which some of the importers had 2 years left on those licenses. So what Tula and Barnaul did, they start shipping it kind of ahead without orders, right? And each one was capable of producing about 40 containers a month. So they created a huge stock of all the ammo that that they produce, 7.62, the 5.45, and then anything
millions of rounds.
Yeah, so they probably brought in about 200 containers, if I have to guess. So for the next 5 to 6 years, I don't see it's going crazy. But I also know that at the same time, Turkey will become a major player in
going to step up
all those. Yeah, and so
cool.
I mean, AK-103 is a good option. But 5.05, like I said, I'm a big fan, and luckily enough, because through my writing and all this stuff, I accumulated a good stock of 5.05 ammo.
Good foresight on your part. Good question, Aaron. That's good. So there was one other in the emails here. This is from Tyler S. Tyler emailed, he said, "Hey Lefty, I've got an AK Corner episode suggestion. Let's talk about the history and current state of modernizing the AK. We've come a long way, and modernized AKs being covered in TAPCO or ATI. Love the show, man. Always listen whenever it drops. I changed my Instagram handle. I now go as Pacific Northwestern." Okay. He also asked a question on the Instagram.
It's actually a great idea, and I kind of touched on both of my books. In the first one, the Shooter's Guide.
Yeah,
and it's a great idea. As a matter of fact, I'm not going to write a book about it. I might come up with an article, but it's gone through enough time passed where you can make a history of AK accessorizing, or tactical in it, or whatever.
Yeah.
Starting with the first TAPCO, and
TAPCO.
you can say whatever you can, think whatever you want about the TAPCO, but they were there first, kind of, with the first hand guards and weird stocks and
when everybody
this and the other thing.
touch that market, yeah.
Right, and of course now, even the Mac Bull produces stuff, man, and traditional AR kind of companies now starting to delve into
There's all
AK accessorizing, and of course, my favorite of them all would be Midwest Industries, just because, and I don't necessarily like all of their stuff.
Yeah.
But I think Troy, the guy that owns it, I mean, he's
been on the show.
He's constantly thinking. This guy is like his brain. If I had to picture it in my mind, it's like a bunch of these guys in white shirts with black ties running around with this like drawings and stuff, going, yeah, have you tried this before? And then, yeah, let's move with this. Let's go with this. No, stop the presses. That kind of stuff. Like a Houston, we have a problem.
They make great
center
products and accessories. Definitely Midwest, and I've had Troy on the show, and he was one of the first to get into the lever action, modernized lever action too.
If you can modernize that,
the four ends on those.
Yeah, if his Alpha side, his Alpha line that's coming online here shortly for everyone is unreal. I mean, it's hard to kind of surprise me with stuff because I've seen a lot. But when I was at the SHOT Show and I know Troy for a long time, I don't know, over 10 years or whatever, and we kind of good friends and we drink together all the time at the SHOT Show. And I bring my flasks with the elixir.
Yeah.
Anyway, and he kept quiet. He didn't say anything to me. And then when I finally, come to his booth for our drinking session, he goes, "Here it is," and I just my jaw hit the floor. I was like, "What? What?" I mean, especially in view of, like a Zenitko is impossible to get.
Yeah.
And if you do get it, it's like millions of shekels.
So it's this stuff he's got out, or this stuff that's coming?
Oh yeah, the stuff that's coming, the stuff that he got out.
You need to let him know he needs to come on the show and release his new stuff with us.
Oh, absolutely. I'll tell him next time I talk to him. But like,
well, maybe you can do a drink session with me at NRA. Bring him by at NRA, and we'll drink and sign books.
Oh, sure. So his side mounts, right, for the regular AK 100 series and stuff. There isn't anything better. There's another one like a RS Regulate. Scott makes a good side mount.
Side mount, yeah.
But he's not he's not prolific. He's not in production per se. I mean, he makes a certain number of them, but that's about it. But Troy is now making stocks. He made
everything. Yeah.
Awesome handguards.
I'm surprised he's not doing his own rifle.
Well, he did ARs.
Right, I mean AK. I'm surprised he's not doing his own AK.
No, it's different. It's not like if you're an AR guy, it's not easy to switch to AK making. You have to be
Get a whole other set of tools. Yeah.
It's different. Yeah. But anyway, yeah.
All right. That does it, man. That does it with our questions. So let's give some shit away, Marco.
All right.
The SEAL 1. We'll give away this first. The SEAL 1. Which question did you like the best? Who's the SEAL 1 going to go to?
Because I know another thing that you're going to give away. I'm gonna give that one to a second question if I would.
You're gonna give this one to the second question?
To the second best.
Okay.
And that deals with the one that actually I got a little stumped there with the underutilized feature.
Okay. Good. And that was, I think that was Bobus. I got to go back through everything here because
It's like 3 back, maybe 3
What
back.
is an underused feature of the AK?
Yeah.
Bobus 1776. You have won the Seal 1 complete gun care kit. It's got the paste, it's got the liquid, and it's got all the brushes and the towels and everything. And oh, by the way, Seal 1's cleaning rods are out now, so you guys can go to Seal 1 and get those cleaning rods that we talked about at SHOT Show, that they released at SHOT Show. Those aren't included in this kit, but you can go get those now. And the discount code doesn't work on the rods, but it does work on the kit. So go to seal1.com, use the code LEADHEAD, and you get 25% off any of their products except the cleaning rods at this point in time. So thank you, Seal 1, and thank you, Bobus. Email me. Got to have that address. And then our next giveaway, Marco, is the belly band from Mission First Tactical. And Mission First Tactical used to do AK accessories, and they still make the grips. They still make a really good AK grip. I've got it on a couple of mine up there, and I like their grips better than anybody else's grips. Just not that because they're a sponsor, but they're just really comfortable and they fit my hand really well. So the belly band, go to Mission First Tactical, use the code LEADHEAD. You're going to get 20% off any of their products, and that's including this belly band. So if you didn't win it today, you can go buy it and get 20% off. So Marco, you want to pick the winner for that?
It's Aaron, is that the guy with the 545 question?
Yeah, he was asking about the supply and all that and what he should get. So our email, we don't get a lot of email questions from you guys because most of you post them on our thing, but I do like to get emails from you. So Aaron, I don't know if you're on Instagram or if you got an Instagram name, but it's Aaron, and your email is 10man4x. You are the winner. So email me, talkinglead@gmail.com. Need your address, contact info, all that, and we'll send you one of these awesome belly bands. So, and what was that pistol that you said that you used when you were in service?
Stitchkin.
Stitchkin. Would it fit in here? Would a Stitchkin fit in here, Marco? I think it would. It'll fit most guns without a light. Oh yeah, we can make that fit in here. It might jab you in the nuts. It might jab your nuts, but it'll fit in here. You want one of these, Marco? Let me see if you want to.
Sure.
You want a belly band holster?
Of course. I will even use it.
You'll even use it.
Yep.
The great thing about it is it fits most people and it can be adjusted. So very cool. So great show. Lots more on this book that we could have covered. We just, like I said, I wanted to deep dive in some stuff, and we took our squirrels, chased our squirrels, and took our turns here and there. But very good book, the AK-47 Survival and Evolution of the World's Most Prolific Gun. Guys, you can get it at Amazon. Is there a website you have that they can go get it?
No, it's, I mean, the company who printed it, F&W Media, they went under, and Caribou Media bought them.
Oh.
So whatever the plans were for, I mean, it's an active project. It's not like they took on all the F&W projects on.
Yeah.
But, I mean, they didn't put any marketing or anything behind it.
Oh, well, that's their loss. They need to do that. So we're marketing it here. They're going to continue to produce it, right? And print it.
We're talking about second edition. I'm going to write maybe another chapter, the last chapter, because
let's get you with another publishing company, Marco. If they're not going to give you any marketing or anything, screw them. Let me introduce.
I mean, they're not bad. I mean, they the same people that do Recoil magazine, I think.
Yeah, let me introduce you to my friends at Simon & Schuster. How about that?
That sounds good.
Okay. I'm going to make a note. No, I'm serious.
Maybe it'll become the New York
New York Times best-selling author.
Pulitzer
I mean, I don't see why not.
Man, the sky's the limit.
Maybe I can get them to boost you into doing your autobiography then.
Actually, the next book I'm probably going to do is on sniper rifles. It will be called Sniper from Motherland. Actually, I'm about 75% completed.
Dude, that's a great name for your autobiography.
No, come on.
Yes, Sniper from the Motherland?
Nah.
Yes. Marco, trust me. Trust me. No,
there's a lot more people that's more deserving than me to be in that book.
No,
it's
sir.
Just mainly, although it's kind of like it sounds as if it's about a person, but it's more of like a sniper rifle development and its deployment and the difference in philosophies. And
no, I get that. I'm just saying that would be a great name for your autobiography when you do write it. So you might want to save that title.
I will just call it like a life of a Joe Schmo and a bunch of crazy stories. Probably. That's a bit
too humble, Marco. You're too humble, brother. Again, thank you so much for taking the time to be on, sharing with the audience. This was a great show. Obviously, I mean, we've been doing it for almost 4 hours now. So,
well, I appreciate you having me on again, and I always like being on. And I guess my favorite part would be to interact with some of the guys that ask the questions and maybe read my books. And there's no more gratification for somebody that puts some time into producing something and then other people enjoying it. So I take a comfort in that, and I thank every and each one of you guys. Thank you very much.
Like I said, I know you're a favorite of our listeners, the Leadhead Brigade here. They love you, and they love it every time that you're on. And you're always, Marco, you're always welcome on the show. So I know that I can count on you. And when I was like, hey, I'm going to be talking about this, you want to be on? You're like, yeah, you're always up for it, and I appreciate that. So we just started. This is episode 2 of season 5, so we got more to come. Lots more to come, Leadheads. Shoot me your suggestions, talkinglead@gmail.com, if you've got guest topics that you want us to talk about, and then be looking for those posts when we prior to our AK Corners asking for your questions. When we let you know who's going to be on. And we appreciate everybody's participation. Congratulations to the winners on this episode. Again, email me, talkinglead@gmail.com. Give me your contact info, and then go support our sponsors: Mission First Tactical, Seal 1, Factory 47. You go to Factory 47 and see this cool hat that I'm wearing here, Marco.
By the way, I got the T-shirts from him, and everywhere I go, that the Colvin High School, the Wolverines, everybody's like, where can I get one? Where can I get one?
Right.
So yeah, that's great.
Yeah, they've got
good stuff.
Great shirts, hats, hoodies there. You can get the Talking Lead logoed stuff, or get your favorite AK manufacturer factory logo. Factory 47 Leadhead, you're going to get 10% off there. Medicine in bad places. You need to learn how to patch people up more than you need to know how to shoot them and kill them. You want to save your loved ones. That's the best way to do it. Get medical training, get medical supplies. You go to Medicine in Bad Places, use the code LEADHEAD20, and you get 20% off anything at Medicine in Bad Places website. And then, of course, our friends at IWI, Jeremy and the whole crew there at IWI US, don't have a discount code for you for there. I don't know if they sell a lot of swag, but their guns are awesome. And we're probably going to be talking about their new Carmel. Have you seen it, Marco?
No, not yet. No.
It's pretty badass. They released it at SHOT Show. We did just kind of a quick down and dirty with them at SHOT Show.
I might have seen it at the SHOT Show. I just didn't stop by. I mean, you know how crazy you run.
Oh, yeah.
So I didn't stop by. I might have seen it, but...
Yeah, so you were at SHOT Show and didn't come see me. I'm a little butthurt, but that's okay.
Get this. In my mind, I did see you. Because I was at the range, at the range day, and went into one of those stands to eat lunch. And I see there's a dude sitting looking just like you.
No.
And he's got like this camo stuff with the 3 stripes on, one of those.
Yeah.
the Russian Adidas type of thing, but camo.
Yeah.
And I thought it was you. I mean, were you at the range day?
Yeah, I was there. I
Oh,
didn't wear anything like
it
that.
was like a jet engine freaking blowing.
Oh, yeah.
Wind, and it was miserable. So my eyes are watering. I walk into this like tent and I see this guy sitting. I was like, "Hey, man, talking lead." He's like looking at me like, yeah, what's going on?" It was somebody else, but looked a lot like you, almost like Double Digger.
Nobody's as ugly as me. Come on.
Yeah, but anyway, no, fortunately I was really busy this time, and
We definitely gonna hook up at NRA. Leadheads, bring your books. Bring your any book you got of Marco. Any of his books. Bring them, and he'll autograph them. We'll he and I are gonna talk. We'll get a day and time for you to come by specifically to do that. But I'm sure if you just run into him, you see him, he'll sign it too. But
oh, absolutely. Anytime you see me, just stop by and say hi, whatever. I mean, I'll do it.
he'll do it.
No problem.
There you go. He's up for it. All right, Leadheads. Until next month, enjoy this. I mean, you'll probably be listening to this for a month as long as it went. But again, I want to see those suggestions for guest topics. And until next AK Corner, we listen to the regular show, dropping sometimes twice a week now. I got so much content.
С вами был Марк Воробьев на программе Talking Lead AK Corner. Всего хорошего.
What'd you say?
Basically said this was Marco Vorobiev at the program of Talking Lead AK Corner. All the best. It's kind of like sign off regular TV program in Russia.
Okay, cool. Dig it. Thank you for that.